Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Miguel. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Okay.
That's good.
Anishka,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm okay, and you?
Just fine, just fine. I see you're the early bird today. Nothing wrong with that. How,
No,
how was your day?
it was good. Work was busy as usual, but I got through it.
You got through it in one piece.
Yes,
Ah, yes. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, the central bank, it never ends.
I know, and I've been working remotely from March.
Wow, and you're still very busy.
hmm
Wow,
Trust me, the work didn't stop, even though we working from home. The work hasn't stopped.
fascinating. As a matter of fact, some people have been complaining that they're working harder at home than when they were at work.
This is true.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Hopefully, are they allowing you guys to do overtime?
Hello,
Who said
Hi, good afternoon.
Who said
hello.
no? Who's
It's
Galaxy?
Shadell McKenzie. I'll change my name.
Shadell.
Yes.
Doggone it, Shadell. You've finally shown up again.
the
I,
the week before last week, I had a family issue, and the week before that, I was working late. I could not go away.
yeah, bloody Corona issues, either directly or indirectly. Well, welcome back, Shadell.
Thank you. I've been trying to read and catch up. I'm
Yeah,
almost there, but I know.
go ahead.
No, I said I know the exam is fast approaching. I'm
Yeah,
trying
it
to
is
do a
actually.
lot of independent work studies.
Yeah, yeah. I think your exam is scheduled for when?
September 10th day.
I think it's supposed 4 or 5 weeks away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
September the 10th. That's right around the
yeah,
corner.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Next week, for the next few sessions, Christine will kick in, and then after that,
That's it.
a week
That's
later, it'll
it.
be examinations. So yeah, you have to stay on top of everything.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
she's going to give you guys some feedback on what you can expect on your examination. I do know from past experience, though, there tends to be um, a host of essay type questions. She'll elaborate on that, I'm sure. But you can be thinking certainly essay type questions, which means that basically you just need to make sure you understand the key points in each of the topic issues. If you could do that, like for
Yes.
example, when you're reviewing trust remuneration, you can just write down, okay, what is it? When does it occur? What are the conditions? When does it not apply? What does the statute have to say? What does it like that?
Okay.
So write down all the key points and then study the key points to present them in essay form. Of course, referring to as many cases as you can along the way. It will always be helpful, and you shouldn't have too much stress. That doesn't mean you don't have to put in the work, but if you do it that way, it'll help a lot. Okay, for sure. All right, so we'll just give the others.
Hey,
Who said that?
Owen,
Oh, wait.
Owen,
how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Great, thanks.
I see you survived another week.
Hmm.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait, you didn't have to go in today, huh? You lucky you.
Lucky me is correct. It's about time.
How did you pull that off?
They'll be only open on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday now.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. So for the next week or so, you have
Mm-hmm.
time off.
Yes, sir.
So when you're home, they don't stress you to do stuff?
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Okay. Great. Great.
That's
So
a that's a
you're not like
that's
an
a
Ishka. And just at home and sweating anyway.
we work straight through no matter what.
Yes.
Uh,
especially in that crazy, where is it, foreign exchanges in Inishka?
Exchange control?
Exchange control, yeah. There's no rest for the weary in exchange control. Ever. It's always been that way from the open to central bank.
Hmm.
Okay.
Good to know. Oh, did you find out if you all have any input on the final exam?
Yeah.
Like how you taught us at lessons?
I'm still waiting for feedback. As soon as I get the confirmation, hopefully between now and Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll certainly let you know. If you don't hear from me by end of day Monday, just send me an email or something like, hello?
Okay.
Yeah, like, what the hell? Weren't you checking on something? But yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I made the suggestion, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they do it this time around, for sure. Because those of us who do the lectures, we have a pretty good idea of the kinds of questions we should ask, for sure. Okay, who else is that? Who just showed up? Oh, Galaxy. That
Oh,
should
let me
help.
change it. I
No,
forgot.
it doesn't. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's easier. Let me just change
Yeah,
it.
if you don't have to change it, I'll just call you Galaxy Chanel.
You may say, what else is that? Galaxy. So let me
Yeah.
change it.
What does Galaxy 20 mean anyway?
That's the type phone it is.
Oh, the type phone. See,
Yeah.
good to ask questions. I never knew about a Galaxy 20 phone. Okay? I know about Samsung and Apple and stuff like that.
Galaxy is Samsung.
Oh, Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
Two things in a row. Doggone it. Okay. So why do they call it two names anyway?
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's always something to know. Galaxy means Samsung. Why? I wonder.
I'm just going to cut my camera off because someone in here is bound to poke their head in at some point.
You mean someone under 18?
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't need to turn off your camera. Let them do it. Let it rip.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Doesn't bother me at all unless they start singing in the middle of the lecture. But other than that, it's okay.
Okay.
I know how it is. Yes. Who are we waiting for now? Leslie. Joan, yes. And then we can begin. Let's give them a few more moments.
Mm-hmm. So tonight, what will be asked over tonight?
Well, we're going to go over the answers to the 2 units that we talked about last week. Anybody remember what those 2 units are?
9 and 10.
Yeah.
Remuneration.
That's cool.
9 and 10.
Is it 9 and 10? I don't think so.
We're going to read it. We're going to Unit 10
We
tonight.
doing 10? Don't scam me.
Oh.
Unit
Is
10.
Oh,
it
well, I
10?
didn't answer unit 10 answers then. My bad.
Oh,
No,
very good.
we call those answers 9 and 10 answers. We'll be going over Unit 10 tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I did say to do the answers for 9 and not 10. Well, maybe it's 10 in your text, huh?
Hold on.
In my text, it's 8 and 9.
Okay.
Retirement and removal of trustees, and then the role of the trust
Responsibilities of the trust administrator.
yeah. So we'll be the lecture will be on the role and responsibilities of the trust administrator, but we will be going over the answers for the trust administrator and retirement.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
Ooh, what chapters did we do last week?
What did we do last week?
We did Unit 9 last week.
We did.
Tell me the topic of the unit. Tell me the topic.
What we did?
Retirement and removal.
Responsibility.
Yes. And what's the other one?
According to my schedule, we did retirement and renewal last week.
Yeah, that's 9.
Yeah.
Oh, we did 9 last week.
Well,
and we did
And tonight we're doing the trust administrator. That's our final topic.
Okay, yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, so you did 8 and 9.
We
Remove.
did 8. We did 8 the week before.
Remember, certain people are different textbooks.
Oh,
Some of
yeah.
you
Okay.
I mean,
are 8 and
top-
9. Some of you are 9 and 10. Somebody is
Okay.
17 and 18. Don't
We
worry
did
about it.
trustee remuneration, and we did the last 2 weeks, and we did the retirement and removal of trustees.
What did we do? What else did we do?
That's it.
Really? We only did 2 units? I don't think so.
I know we were supposed to, well, we go back and do 6, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we went back and did 6.
We
I
did.
think that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
What was 6?
Appointment of trustees.
Aha. So we've done 3 units so far. Or is it
No.
4?
This,
You did more than that.
we did.
I think we did 4 so far. I think we're doing our first one tonight.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which 4 have we done so far? I'm getting you warmed up for your test in September. Which 4 have we done so far?
We
So it's
did.
duties, and the first thing we did was duties and powers of trustees.
Yes?
And then we were supposed to go back and do appointment of trustees. I
Yes, we
missed that
did.
one.
We did.
Okay.
That's number 2.
And then trustee, well, not trustee, trustee remuneration.
That's
I
3.
wasn't here for that. And I'm
Uh-huh.
assuming retirement and removal of trustees.
Last week, yes. So we've done all 4 of them.
Right, guys? I don't know. Hello?
Hi, Leslie.
Hello?
Hi, Leslie.
Hi. Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Joan, is that you?
I think June connected now.
Yeah. She let Rover answer for her. I heard him in the background. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, it's amazing, time flies so quickly. I can't believe we're in our 4th and final session already.
I
It
know,
seems
right?
like a few days ago, we just opened our discussions and we were talking about all kinds of stuff, and folks said we have to go back to the appointment, and we went back and then we came forward, and yet we're still here all of a sudden in the final session. But the year is almost over, so I guess we shouldn't complain about that at all. All right, so if you guys have an examination coming up in September, you have less than just over a month to prepare. Do not procrastinate. Use some of this quarantine time to study and all that stuff. Don't wait for the last minute. Okay, for sure. Okay, June, are you on?
Yes, finally. Sorry.
Great, no problem.
Technical difficulty.
No problem. We're going to start with going over the answers for the 2 units, and then we'll go into the lecture. And then once we're done with all of that, if you don't have any pressing questions at the moment, then we'll be done for the evening, and you can go ahead and start getting ready for your final session. And of course, your exam, which all of you are expected to pass.
Yes.
For me, unfortunately, failure is not an option, so you have to pass.
All righty.
All right, so I'm throwing down the gauntlet on you guys. Okay. So let's have a look then at the responses for retirement and renewal of trustees. Let me see what kind of responses you guys came up with. Again, we'll go across the board from Manishka to Colin to Joan to Galaxy to Leslie.
Gal, now you have to forgive Galaxy. I'm not too up to date yet.
Oh, so you weren't able to get to the answers then?
I didn't know we had to do it because I
That's
wasn't
true.
here.
That's true. You
for
didn't
2
put it
weeks.
on the blog. Okay, so we're gonna skip over Galaxy and then go to Leslie, Joan, and then go back. So Galaxy has the pleasure now of just writing stuff in.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
While
your
the rest of
lenience.
us,
I'll help though. I'll help wherever I can.
okay, sounds good. Okay, Nishka, number one.
Number one, a trust instrument may contain a express clause which allows the trustee to retire.
If anybody disagrees with the answer, feel free to shout out anything like or I don't think so, or I have something else, or something like that. Feel free to do that.
We agree with Anishka.
Yeah, if there are no
And I think
objections,
they use another term as well, express power.
I have express power, yeah.
yeah, express clause or express power. Either one of those would be correct. I don't think I
Okay.
need to remind you that express means what? It doesn't fall on anybody's lips yet? What's the
Sorry?
synonym? What's the
Claire.
synonym for express?
Claire
Not clear.
or written?
Written. Written. Absolutely. What's the opposite of expressed?
Must be unwritten.
Yeah, which is?
Not clear, not expressed.
Verbal.
Oh, verbal. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay. Unwritten. If you don't like that, too bad. Okay. I like that though. That's pretty good improvisation. If you don't remember verbal, put unwritten. Who can argue with that? All right, Cohen, number two.
What are two other ways in which a trustee may retire?
Okay.
One, by obtaining the consent of all beneficiaries who are sujurous and between them absolutely entitled to the whole beneficial interest in the trust. And two, to obtain the consent of the court.
Okay. Any disagreements?
No.
No? Nobody put the trustee act? Some students have
No.
put trustee act in the past. I wonder why they did that. Why would they say trustee act?
Because there are provisions in the Trustee Act that also permit the trustee to retire.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that.
Okay. Okay. So we wonder where Cohen got the first part of his answer from. Sounds like he pulled that out from another
Yeah,
unit, huh?
so-
Cohen, did you get the first part of your answer from this unit?
I believe so.
Okay. For those of you who have Unit 8, if you look under removal of trustees, does everybody see that?
Unit 8?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what unit, just look for removal of trustee.
Mm-hmm.
It says removal,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go all the way down, you see a paragraph that says a trustee may also.
Yeah.
You see that?
The trustee may also be removed under a power within the trust instrument or by statute.
That's what Cohen said, right?
Is that what Cohen said?
No?
No? Oh, okay, sorry.
No, because that's not really the answer yet. I'm just trying to get somebody to disagree with Cohen. If there are no disagreements, then
I don't disagree because that's what I had too. Consent of all beneficiaries or consent of court.
Mm-hmm.
or the consent of the
The
court.
court.
Yeah. Let me just say for the record that the issue of getting the consent of all beneficiaries, does anybody know where that particular concept comes from? It comes from the Trustee Act. Okay? Which
Also, that's
allows,
the provision of the Trustee Act.
correct, which
Okay.
allows for all the beneficiaries to be in agreement in order to do that. Okay? So, way to go, Cohen, for sticking to your guns. I was hoping you'd say, maybe I should change it. So when you go in your examination, whatever you put, for better or for worse, leave it. You're probably dead right or dead wrong. But whatever it is, stick with it. Okay, Joan, number 3.
Number 3, a court will discharge a trustee provided that there is at least one other trustee to carry on the duties of trustee, or that there is a replacement or new trustee
Yes,
that's capable of being appointed to the trust.
yes, indeed.
Yes.
Did anybody have anything to the contrary? Okay, wonderful. Lucky Galaxy. Okay, Leslie.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, yes.
The retiring trustee of a trust normally requests a release
Yes.
from liability in relation to his trusteeship, which he may be granted on termination of the trust.
Indeed. Does anybody remember? That's correct. Does anybody remember why he would request a release from liability? Why would the trustee request a release? Primarily in the event that primarily in the event that there are any breaches of trust existing from the previous trustee. The trustee wants to make sure that nobody comes back, or the future trustee, or any such thing, that nobody will come back and say, hey, guy, if you think because you resigned as trustee, you've been removed, that you are going to get away with this, we are going to bring charges against you for blah, blah, blah. So oftentimes trustees try to get released from any and all liability once they get trusteeship. They don't want it to follow them. Okay. All right, Anishka, back to you, number 5.
Oh, number 5 was the only one I left blank.
How ironic. Okay, Cohen,
I
let's
know,
go
right?
for Anishka.
I left it right too, but I did put. I have, with regard to the removal of a trustee, the court has to recourse to its inherent jurisdiction to remove a trustee and appoint a new trustee to replace him, or remove a trustee without replacement. Now I went online for that one.
And what happened when you went online? It says this is the correct answer? I know what you mean.
I put inherent too, but I didn't that particular.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm not saying you're not correct. I'm just curious that you were creative enough to go online and come up with that. So when you went online, what happened?
Yeah, that's what it say. I type in what jurisdiction to remove a trustee.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. And it says it has the inherent jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, way to go. Otherwise, I mean, it was in the unit, but it was a little sneaky. It was just tucked in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was a little sneaky.
Yeah, and
I saw that.
yeah, they just kind of tried to slip that past you and then change the question a little bit that didn't seem to fit.
Yeah, it didn't quite fit
Absolutely.
in there.
So way to go on that one. Cool. And number 6, Joan.
Number 6, the removal of a trustee by a court is normally based upon the actions of the trustee, which may be due some dishonesty for which he may have been formally convicted, or some financial irresponsibility with regard to property under his trust, or by him becoming a bankrupt.
Absolutely. So there are 3 conditions: dishonesty, financial irresponsibility, and bankruptcy. Okay? And again, that's how you can shorten all of that stuff for study purposes. You just keep it simple. Of course, you can only do that after you've done your reading and you understand what's going on, so that when you see the answers, you know, oh, that's that particular concept. All right. But again, for those of us who can't keep a whole lot of stuff in our heads for too long, it's always nice to summarize it and then use it for review. Okay. Who's next? Leslie. Number 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, I didn't. So I'm gonna guess 7.
You're going to make an attempt anyway?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
It says, what are the 2 reasons?
What are 2 other ways?
Is that the court can do, or any other 2 ways?
What are two other ways in which a trustee may be removed from a trust? I may have given the answer away earlier. Let's see if anybody.
Yes,
picks
you
up.
did.
Would it be where they're unfit to act?
Say it again.
Unfit to act or incapable of acting?
Oh, no, not that one.
Not that, okay.
Mhm. Try it again. It's under removal at the bottom of the page. Hello.
Oh,
Okay.
The power within the trust. Like
so termination of the trust? Is that one?
Getting warm. Somebody help her. Anishka, jump in.
Oh, what are two other ways in which a trustee may be removed from a trust? This
Yeah.
what I put. One, a court may remove a trustee under power within the trust instrument or by statute.
Okay, yeah, either the trust instrument or by statute.
Mhm.
Okay, by trust instrument or by statute. The other one is, of course, by the courts. Okay, all right, Cohen, back to you.
Well, so my another point I have for that, I have once assets has been liquidated and dispersed to the beneficiaries. That's one as well.
In this particular case, that wouldn't be one.
Okay.
That would come under the
That's a
discussion of
trust.
distributions.
Trust.
Yeah,
But I do have the one with say trust instrument or by statute too.
those are the two correct answers we're looking for 7.
Okay.
Okay, what are the two other ways? The third way is by the courts. Okay, so make sure you don't get any question connected to the removal of trustees. Incorrect. It's the instrument, the trust, the statute or the trustee act, and by the courts. All right, number 8, Joan.
Right.
Cohen,
A court may also
Cohen.
remove
She's saying,
a court.
not me, it's Cohen. Okay.
A court may also remove a trustee from a trust where there is found to be continuing friction between the trustees and the beneficiaries.
Any disagreement? Any objections?
no.
No. Does anybody remember the discussion or the context in which we talked about friction with beneficiaries?
Mama.
If you've read the unit, you would have seen there was a big old fat paragraph about all that. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get along.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just
They don't like
for
him.
whatever reason, doesn't. And oftentimes the trustee may be a very competent trustee, but if a beneficiary or 2 or 3, if they don't like you, they will still come against you. It's like Donald Trump. No matter what a great president he might be, if because they don't like him, doesn't matter what he does, he could save the United States and the world. People will still spit on him because they don't like him. Unfortunately, but that's the way the world works. Okay. All right, way to go. Who's next? Joan.
Now I'm next. Okay.
Number 9.
If number 9, if trustees are unable to administer a discretionary trust, the court could appoint new trustees to do so.
Absolutely. Anybody remembers what a discretionary trust is?
One in
Nice
which
question.
Mm-hmm.
one in which
That's
the trustee can make decisions about how to administer the trust. Like everything
Absolutely.
is not set out in stone.
Absolutely. The trustee gets to make decisions within his own opinion and judgment and discretion about how to administer the trust. Okay? He's not driven specifically by the instrument or by the courts. He gets to make decisions that he thinks is in the best interest of beneficiaries. All right? Of course, non-discretionary means quite the opposite. The instrument is clear, the courts are clear, the law is clear. You don't have any discretion. Doesn't matter if you don't like it, just do it. Does anybody knows what happens if it's non-discretionary and the trustee does his own thing? What
Breach of
happens
trust.
then? He's in breach of trust. Okay, by all means. All right, and then our last question, Leslie. Number 10.
Okay. Number 10. The circumstances surrounding the removal of a trustee and their power within the trust instrument must be clearly related to the power or removal, since the power will often be strictly construed,
Mm-hmm.
and the removal of a trustee may impact negatively on the trustee from a moral standpoint.
Absolutely. All right, very good. If there are no objections, it must be clearly related to the power of removal. Okay, unequivocal, without any doubt. Okay. All right, fantastic. Okay, so now we can move into our final lecture for today, which is the role and responsibilities of the trust administrator. Very interesting concept. All right, I have my note. Does everybody have the textbook?
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it up anyway, just in case we have any blah,
Different.
blah, blah. Absolutely, because last time we had our own thing going on, different this and different that, but that's okay. For the most part, it's pretty much the same. Can everybody see that?
Oh, okay. That's your textbook?
That's your
That-
note, sorry.
yeah, that's not what I want you to see yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay, I was
Doggone it.
just gonna say.
Yeah, and that's not what I want you to see yet. I'm trying to find my notes. Hang on. I'll be right back after station identification as soon as I find my notes. Okay. Can you guys see what I'm doing?
no, just the
No.
no.
Oh, that's
No.
good, because
No.
you might see something you shouldn't see.
Just let it go. Let it rest.
I already told my wife, don't come in with any funny stuff on, because there's a young man that we don't want to contaminate. Okay. Because, you know, during the doggone, I almost said Holocaust, I mean, COVID. Yeah, you just, you forget you're home sometimes, doing normal stuff. Okay, where is it? Man, I hope I have that. Okay, what did I do with my notes? Well, I guess you guys could just read on a little bit until I find out what I did with my notes. I know it's not too far away. Ah, there they are. I thought I had done this already. I thought that was me for a moment. Okay. I'm almost there. Where the heck did they go? Okay. Oh, darn it. Can you guys see that?
Not yet.
Okay, stop share, share again, show. There. Can you see it?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we begin. Of course, up to this time, we were talking about duties and payment and appointments and removals and all that stuff. But now this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about a different aspect of the trust process. It's called the role of the trust administrator. And of course, from your own experience, you probably know already that an administrator happens to be a person who organizes things to make sure that they get done in accordance with some particular program. And so a trust administrator is by no means different from any other administrator. Can you think of another administrator other than trust? A trust administrator is the only administrator you know in the world?
No.
No.
What other administrator you've heard about before tonight, the trust administrator? Does anybody have a church administrator at the church they go to?
Oh, yes. They don't call it that, but
No, what do they call it? I know, it all depends
they
on,
don't.
yeah, which church, who
Yeah.
exactly you're talking about, what rank they hold, and all this stuff. But of course, the word administrator comes from the Latin word
Administer.
administer, okay? And so these are persons who actually go to get things done, all right? So in our discussions today, we're going to find out what exactly does a trust administrator do and why they are so important to the trustee. Now, oftentimes in the real world, the trustee may appoint a trust administrator, which is another company, an individual in the trust firm, department head, or whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, however that trust administrator is appointed or from wherever they are appointed, their job is pretty much to do the same thing. And that is to get the job done on behalf of the trustee, okay? They are the ones who go out on day-to-day and administers the trust accounts and keeps the trustee abreast of everything that's going on so that the trustee is always aware of what's happening with all of its beneficiaries and its trust accounts. Do trust administrators get paid for their work? They absolutely do. I can't think of a single trust administrator who will do that job free. No trustee wants to be a trustee for free, correct? So certainly, remember we had the discussion about remuneration.
Yeah.
Okay. If somebody asks you to be a trustee, what's the first thing you should discuss with them?
What all am I doing and how much am I going to get paid?
Absolutely. What are my responsibilities in administering this trust? See, in administering this trust. All of a sudden, as a trustee, you become a trust administrator as well. And secondly, how much will I be paid? And thirdly, I don't want any lip service. Please put it where? In the trust instrument, remember?
Yes.
Remember, if it's not in the instrument, you're not going to be paid. And if you pay yourself and it's not in the instrument, the beneficiary can do what?
Take you to court.
Of course, and force you to return the money. And if you want to get stinky after that, they could get together and do what?
Remove you.
Yes. All I want you to see is all of the stuff that we've been discussing over the last couple of weeks. They are all interconnected. Okay? So that's the other thing. Do not study in isolation because these things are interconnected. All right.
In my reading, I wasn't here for that class, but in my reading, am I clear? My understanding of a portion of that section I read, it said that if the beneficiaries agree to an amount to pay the trustee, that is allowed. Is that correct?
When you say if it's correct, you mean if it's something that they can do?
In order to justify payment, in
Yeah.
order for the trustee to justify payment.
Yeah, it is correct, provided all the beneficiaries agree.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Absolutely. That's the
Okay.
caveat. Okay. If one
Okay.
objects, it's like a jury. Dog eat your lunch. No deal.
Right.
So
Right.
you somehow have to get everybody to agree. And knowing human nature, that is not always easy.
So
Okay?
it's best to have it in the trust deed.
Absolutely best.
Okay.
And if you decide that, wait a minute, that original amount is not enough, then you can still go back to them a year, 2 or 3 later as the trustee or trust administrator and say, hey, I'm doing far more work now than I did 3 years ago. I need an increase in salary. And
Okay.
then they'll say, like, really? You greedy bastard. That amount I've been paying you for 3 years is not enough. Take it or leave it. And so you know you're not going to get agreement from the beneficiaries. If you feel that strongly about it and the beneficiaries say no, then you can go to the courts and see if you can get the courts to what? Render a decision. The only problem is if the courts rule in your favor and the beneficiaries don't like the fact that you went over their head, they might in turn start planning to do what? Have you removed? Does that mean that the courts will remove you automatically? No. But remember we said earlier that the courts are not happy to remove trustees unless you have a damn good reason. Remember that?
Mm.
You can't just
Yeah.
say, I don't like the trustees here, do so I want her removed. That's not going to work in the court of law. Okay? You must have a far more substantive reason than that. So we're going to talk about the role and responsibility of the administrator, what kinds of duties the administrator expected to conduct on behalf of the trustee, and a couple of laws relating to trust administration along the way that helps the administrator to do their jobs better. All right, so who's going to start us off? Anishka, the first will be first today.
I die first all the time.
Oh my.
What an argument. Okay,
No,
Jim,
I can go. I can go.
who said I can go?
Oh, Galaxy.
The one who
Oh,
read
Galaxy.
it.
Oh yeah, doggone it. I forgot about Galaxy. Anishka, I am so sorry. I forgot about Galaxy quietly. Galaxy, so happy that you kicked in. Please get us started. We're picking on you today.
No, please don't. I'll read it. I'll just read it. Stuff from trust administrator. Okay. The trust administrator has the overall responsibility to carry out the administration of the trust under the direction and oversight of the trustee.
Now that paints a picture of the trustee as a corporate trustee, remember? And the corporate trustee says, as a company that's headed by a CEO, look, I'm a CEO of this trust company. I don't have time to be running down any bloody trust accounts. I have too many other problems dealing outside this bloody firm. So I'm going to hire from the outside or appoint from the inside a trust administrator to run the day-to-day affairs and keep me posted. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So that's what the opening salvo is from Galaxy. That the trustee is now going to appoint a trust administrator who will guide and oversee the trust on behalf of the trustee and by extension on behalf of the beneficiaries. All right, keep going, Galaxy.
Okay, whilst the discretionary powers of the trustee may not be delegated, the trustee may delegate certain specific tasks to administrators and other agents in relation to the discretion to be made subject to the terms of the trust instrument.
Again, when you see the word delegate, what comes to your mind at this stage? What should jump into your mind immediately?
A power?
Yeah, getting warm. But what does the word delegate tell you in terms of the trust and the administration of a trust? Remember we said a trustee may delegate what? Duties,
Yes.
but not what? Responsibility. In other words, if the trustee hire an investor to invest trust assets and the investment tanks and goes down under, the trustee cannot say it's the investor's fault. You understand, folks?
Yes.
Okay. So the trustee can delegate a duty or an activity to anyone, but not the responsibility. He is ultimately, when I say he, I mean he, she is why are we saying he, she these days anyway? In the old days when I was growing up, he meant what?
Everybody.
Yeah, like mankind. Maybe I'm old school. I get the he, she thing, but you know, this complicates everything unnecessarily. I guess that's why it was simplified in the first place. Now we're complicating it again. Okay, interesting. But that's another issue. That's another set of trust issues that have nothing to do with your academic trust studies. But that's another set of trust issues. All right, so a trustee can delegate duties and activities, but he cannot delegate responsibility. Okay, that's the key. If you're in charge of a department, you can get people in the department to do the work, but if they mess up, who's responsible?
Yes, the
You.
trustee.
Yeah, you or whoever's responsible, whether it's a trustee, department head, head of exchange control, whatever you head out. If your people under you mess up, who you delegate the work to, you have to deal with them. But the responsibility for the mess up is yours. And you can't tell your CEO, well, my staff messed it up. We know that's true. And then your CEO says, but who's responsible? You say, they are. And then they'll probably fire you for not taking what? Responsibility. Absolutely.
Is that the same for if trustees outsource like investment managers and all that? Would they be waived of any thing that goes wrong because they outsource that?
That's an excellent question. That is absolutely connected. When a trustee outsources anything, the trustee is, no matter how the outsource is messed up, if it goes well, the trustee takes credit. If it doesn't go well, the trustee has to take the blame.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That's how it works under trusteeship.
But that's not the trustee expertise, so could they still obtain a waiver or something? I mean.
Well, here's what happens in practice. First of all, as you will see later, whenever a trustee outsources work for the trust, they can't just outsource it to any Tom, Mary, Dick, and Harry. They have to do their research to make sure, to the greatest possible extent, that the person or company to whom they're outsourcing it is qualified to do it. So if you have a family member that you're trying to get some money to under the table, and you give them a job to do that you know they're not qualified to do, and it goes wrong, you could find yourself in trouble as a trustee. But you have to take responsibility, not the person you outsource the work to. So it is in the trustee's interest to do his due diligence before outsourcing. Now, if the trustee does his due diligence and something goes wrong, the trustee is still responsible, but the trustee will be free from liability, personal liability. Do you follow?
Yeah.
If he can prove that he took all the proper steps to hire the appropriate person. So if you have an investment of trust funds that you need to invest and you hire a plumber, dog eat your lunch. You know that's vulgar and you know that's totally out of order. So you find an investment manager who is qualified, experienced, and have the ability to invest in the area of the trust that you want. So you can see you are free to outsource it as a trustee because you're not the expert, but you have to outsource it to whom? An expert. Does that make sense? Doesn't matter if it makes sense. That's how it works. If you violate it, you are a what? Breach of trust. That's how it works. If you, for example, are a trustee and one of your beneficiaries is a minor and paralyzed, and the trust instrument says to pay that person $5,000 a year, and you say, ah, Lord, they're paralyzed, I feel sorry for them, let me give them 10, you are what?
Breach of trust.
But then you say, well, but they're paralyzed.
That's not the terms and conditions of the trust.
Absolutely. See, if it's non-discretionary, you don't have any choice. And if you don't follow the rules, it doesn't matter how you feel. No matter how the beneficiary might cry and say, oh, I need a new wheelchair, I swear, with gold on it or whatever. You can't unless you want to be in breach of trust. And I can assure you, the other beneficiaries will get word of that, wouldn't they?
Yes.
And they'll come back and say, I don't care if he was paralyzed 17 times over. We're suing you for breach of trust. And that's how it works in the real world. All right? So yes, you may outsource it, but you have to outsource it to a competent party. And if something goes right, la-di-da, you're on the right track. You take responsibility, you take credit. Something goes wrong, you take responsibility for what has gone wrong. Can you then sue the person or company you outsource it to? Of course. But it doesn't change your responsibility as being what? The person responsible. That's the bottom line. So that's a good question. All right, keep going, Galaxy.
Of the discretion by the trustees is normally shared by members of a trust committee or professional trustees whose deliberations are often documented in trustee meetings,
In
which do
trustee
not,
what?
I'm sorry,
In trustee what?
in trustee minutes.
Oh, am I the only one who heard meetings?
Oh, did I?
It's possible, but the mind is a
In
funny
trustee,
thing. Yeah, it
and
does look like
trustee,
meetings when you're reading it, like reading it. It's like,
and well, the minutes come as a result of the meetings.
okay.
So,
Yeah, that's true. There you go. Keep going.
in trustee minutes, which do not become trust property and are not required to be disclosed to the beneficiaries or a court of competent jurisdiction.
So don't get caught in examination question or in the real world later on. Know for sure that trustee minutes are not open for review by beneficiaries, nor by the courts, period.
Oh, okay.
Okay? They are not. Some beneficiaries have taken trustees to court because they wanted to see the minutes, because they want to see the grits, the real inside reasons as to why trustees made certain decisions so that they could raise hell, sue, and doggone fire the trustee or whatever the case might be. But trustee minutes are not available for review by beneficiaries for the same reason. They are the trustees' thoughts and deliberations, and they are not available for review by any court of any competent jurisdiction. However, and this is a big, fat, stinky however, if the courts or the beneficiaries believe that they have a strong enough case that warrants opening up minutes, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's highly improbable they'll get their way. That would be like an exception of the century. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
All right. The trustee minutes are very personal to the trustee. And basically, it's like your personal thoughts in your head. It's nobody's business unless you want to tell them. Okay? All All right, keep going.
The trust administrator is required to be highly trained and skilled in performing the administrative tasks of the trust. The trust administrator must also be knowledgeable of the terms of and parties to the trust. Significant reliance is placed on the trust administrator to provide the trust committee with the information needed to deliberate and decide on how, when, and to whom it will exercise its discretion, particularly in relation to any distributions to the beneficiaries of the trust.
Now, that is a very loaded paragraph, whether you realize it or not. First of all, the trust administrator's job requires a whole lot of skill. They have to be doing the stuff that you're doing now, taking a trust course or 2 or 3 or 4, and then learning how trust work in the real world by getting some hands-on experience. And then when they're skilled enough, they'll either be promoted into the trust administrator's job or hired from the outside to come in and do this job based on their previous experience. In any event, you cannot be wondering how a trust works to be a trust administrator. You have to have that skill and the experience. That's the first point. Okay? Because the trustee, which is the corporate trustee, they will be relying heavily on the trust administrator to do it right.
Yeah.
They have the option to fire the trust administrator if they don't, but sometimes the firing comes after the damage. Do you follow?
Yeah.
And certainly some damage, some trustees never recover from. So they have to be sure, just to the greatest possible extent, that their administrator is doing their jobs properly. And also, the more the trustee understands about what the administrator is doing, the more that they can keep an eye and trying to determine whether or not the administrator is in fact doing a good job. In case things start to get a little shaky, the trustee can make a decision before the ship sinks. Do you follow?
Mhm.
With regards to what to do with the administrator. That's the first point. Key point.
Okay.
Notice the words that are used in this context. Significant reliance, not just some reliance or an occasional reliance. Significant. That means that day to day, the trustee, the trustee expects to be brought up to date on what's going on, expects that the administrator will give them correct information, that they wouldn't lie, that they wouldn't try to deceive the trustee, that they wouldn't try to hide information, pull deals, run their own, none of that stuff. God forbid. The trustee expects that the administrator will do none of that and work solely in the interest of the trustee. Okay? Because especially when it comes to distributions, anybody knows what distributions are in a trust? Oh.
Payments to the beneficiaries?
Yeah, when it's time to make payments to beneficiaries. I don't think it's a secret at this stage as to why distributions are so crucial, because anytime it comes to money, whether it's $10 or $10 million, people always get in a frenzy like this. Where's my $10? Or where's my 10 million, like that. So money is always a very, very fiery area, and the trust administration's job is no easier. When the time comes for distributions to beneficiaries, you can always tell because they show up like bees on honey. Okay, in the real world, I can assure you, if you pay them late, they will not like it. If you send them the incorrect payment and it's short, they will not like it. If you send them the incorrect payment and it's more, will they like it or not?
These are distributions for, how should I say it? Non-discretionary trust fund.
Yes, we are talking about non-discretionary trusts.
Okay.
How do we know that we're talking about
Because-
non-discretionary?
Because it seems like standard. You mean in terms of the distribution?
Yes.
Because it's not a matter of choice. It's same standard. Entitlement.
It's interesting. That's the second core question you asked. And here's why I say that. Even though we say non-discretionary, it doesn't have to be non-discretionary. It could be discretionary as well in terms of distributions. Because remember, distribution has only to do with what? The paying of money that is due to a beneficiary. If it is fixed and non-discretionary, then we know it's a set amount. If it is discretionary, the trustee will still make a payment, but he'll make it what? The amount that he wants it to be,
Okay.
as opposed to a fixed amount. Does that make sense?
Yes.
However, both of them are still what? Distributions.
Okay.
Okay? Now, make no mistake. Beneficiaries know by the time that they're beneficiaries whether they're going to get a fixed amount or a discretionary payment from the trustee. Okay? Some beneficiaries prefer a fixed amount because they know that they can rely on that figure. Others prefer discretionary because some of them try to manipulate trustees. Like, in your discretion, can you not give me more? Am I not the cutest beneficiary, Mr. Trustee? Am I not the smartest of the beneficiaries? Can I not, like that? And so many trustees have been found acting unethically with beneficiaries in their discretion, because some of them, for example, might like one beneficiary more than another one. And so when it's time to pay distributions, they pay more to the one they like, and less to the others that they don't like or don't have any connection to. It's kind of like the favorite child syndrome. Ever heard that?
Mm.
I'm the only one who heard about the favorite child syndrome?
No.
I heard
Sorry,
about
baby.
favorite child.
Yeah.
Well, having a favorite child is the syndrome.
Yeah. It's a disease, actually. Should we have a favorite child?
No.
No. Should we have a child that we like and hate? Yes.
No. Do we like and hate?
Yeah. Well, when I say hate, I mean not like we hate them. We just hate them. We love. It's a love hate. Like, in other words, sometimes people have children like they love them because that's their child, but they don't like them because they keep creating a mess. But they still love them. They just love them with like, ah. And then there are other children who don't create a mess, and they're like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Peace on this side of the river. And as soon as you go to lay down there, the other one kicks it with something. Okay, so it's kind of like that. So when the time comes to leave a will now in your discretion, see, what are you going to do? Leave an equal amount for the good, the bad, and the ugly? When I say ugly, I don't mean physical appearance, you know. Because some people have ugly children, like not physically ugly. That's not what I mean. They have children like are mean to them, mean in general. Yeah, they're just mean, stinky people that happen to be somebody's child. Sorry, it's the truth. And so I say all that to say that if you think trusteeship is just fixing your tie and issuing some distribution, it's not that simple. There's a whole lot of human dynamics. And what I just told you about the children happens to trustees a lot when it comes to beneficiaries. You may not be aware of that. So I'm just telling you, okay? Some of you might know some families where that exists outside of a trusteeship, but every family has some crap going on like that somewhere. That's just one of those things. All right, good question again. So this thing about distributions, whether it's fixed or variable, it's still a distribution at the end of the day, where each of the beneficiaries will be paid X amount of money. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Additionally, trust administrators should understand and be knowledgeable of the trust laws governing the duties of trustees and the administration of the trust generally. The standard of duty and care expected of trust administrators is a relatively high one, given their level of expertise and experience, and considering their responsibilities in relation to assisting in the discharge of the trustee's duties.
Yes.
The trust administrator is encouraged to review the trust instrument and documents to familiarize him on the beneficiaries, their entitlements, the trustees' duties and powers generally, the appointment of agents, trustee investments, and the overall terms governing the trust.
Why the heck would this administrator be doing all that? Isn't that a lot? Why would the administrator be encouraged to do that? All those things.
They're basically running the trust.
Yeah, who said that? Joan. Yeah, they're basically running the trust. The trustee is like just the titular head who will say yay or nay and take responsibility if things go right or wrong. See? Kind of like that. All right. So if you're going to run the trust from day to day, you need to know what's going on in each trust account. And of course, the administrator is not going to be doing this alone unless it's a small trust company, right? With just a few trust accounts that one person can manage. But of course, for huge multi-gazillion-dollar trust companies, they have tons of people working on the administrator, correct? They are called trust officers.
Yes.
Junior trust officers, trust officers, senior trust officers, super senior trust officers, assistant manager trust, assistant senior trust, see like that, all the way up to the trust administrator. That's how it works in major firms. But all these people, their jobs are to help the administrator, whose job is to make sure that the trustee is happy. Okay, and then finally?
The settlor's letter of wishes is also important in this review, as it provides practical guidance for the administration of the trust, although not legally binding.
Now, if I were to write that as an essay question, I would say the settler's letter of wishes is an important document for the trust administrator to be familiar with, full stop, discuss. What would be a main point?
It's not binding.
Yeah, it's, well, two main points. First of all, it is a guideline and it's not legally binding. Then you can go on and say any crap you want after that. Not crap. What you need to say to build your essay. See my point?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for those of you who still aren't comfortable with a letter of wishes are, sorry, you should be by now. But let me just say this. It is simply a document written by the settlor at the time of the settlement of the trust, indicating to the trustee how he or she would like for the trust to be administered. The reason why it's not legally binding is because if it's a discretionary trust, the trustee can still what? Do as he pleases. Yeah, he could say, the hell with those letters. He is not bound by law to follow them. All right? Which is why sometimes certain set laws, they don't leave it to the discretion of the trustee. They say, these are my wishes, and then they put them in the instrument. You follow? So the trustee has no choice. Of course. Okay? But some people know, some settlers know, that if they have a letter of wishes and they set up a discretionary trust, that many trustees eventually will stop listening to their letter of wishes. Okay? I always tease my wife, at least let me rot before you get married again. Those are my letter of wishes.
That don't take long.
Let me just make sure she isn't here. And, I always tease her. I always tease her. Like, I'm not getting married again. I'm like, you sure? I'm like, okay. So, however, once I pass on, she will not be bound by those wishes. she will have to make a completely different decision because I'd be dead and in heaven, having a whatever they drink in heaven, cooling out on cloud, whatever I land on. All right, thank you so much, Galaxy.
All right.
You have made up for the time away for sure.
Thank you.
And so now we can give you a break and move on to the next victim. Let's see who that will be. Okay. Anishka already made it clear earlier, so you always picking on me for some reason.
No, I could go. I could go next.
Oh, I know. I was just teasing Anishka.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Galaxy. We'll drag Anishka in for a few paragraphs and then we go from there. Okay, Anishka,
Okay.
the trust administrators.
Okay. The trust administrator's organization skills are critical to the effective and efficient administration of the trust. The diarizing of reoccurring and important events, the preparation of trust files, and the use of comprehensive database in relation to the trust are important organizing tools for the proper functioning of the trust.
True or false?
That's true.
I sure hope so. In fact, the more of those things you have set up, the easier job as an administrator will be. The more of those things you have set up in any job you have, not just the trust administrator, any job, the more organized you will be. The less of those kinds of files and their contacts you have, the more disorganized you'll be. Has anybody ever worked for a firm where you tried to find something, they said it's over there in one of those drawers?
Right, boxes.
Yeah, worse than drawers. They're over there in one of those boxes. How about that? Okay? And nobody cares about it until there is a problem like an audit. A client has a query that says, if you don't respond to my query with regards to that matter that occurred in 1973, when the Bahamas became independent, I'm moving my $10 billion account. So now you have to go back and rip up the whole company. Because who wants to lose a what? $10 billion account. Worse still, an order comes down from the Supreme Court in a matter requiring a particular set of documents, and all of a sudden those documents are God knows where. But there's no way your firm is going to win that case or that lawsuit against you, your company, unless you find those documents. So now you have to go back and tear up everything again. The point I'm making is any administrator or any organization that does not do that kind of thing, it's setting itself up for a major problem eventually. But sooner or later, something is going to hit the fan. All right, keep going.
Particular legal and tax opinions, changes in trust legislation, amendments to the trust, and changes to the beneficiary's circumstances must be duly noted and reviewed by the trust administrator in order to provide professional assistance and administrative support to the trustees.
By all means, we know by now that's no secret. That's the deal. You're the administrator, you're the head of the department, you're head of the trust company. Hey, if it's only you because it's a small trust company, you do it. If it's a bigger company, hire someone. If it's an even bigger company, hire more someones. That's how it works. Okay, keep going.
Equally important, the trust administrator must know and understand the investment objectives of the trust and the overall objectives of the trust. The trust administrator is instrumental in ensuring the trustees follow these investment objectives and obtain the relevant consents and approvals from any person duly appointed in the trust instrument in order to execute the investment strategy of the trust.
Indeed. Now let me ask you a question. Why is it that the trust administrator needs to get into knowing what the investment objectives are? Like, what is that? Why?
I guess because they take responsibility. It's still their responsibility.
Well, it's their duty. Whose responsibility is it?
The trustee.
Trustee.
Aha. Interesting distinction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was having a discussion with anyway, I call him my baby, but anyway, he's 22. And he doesn't like when I do that sometimes, but that's his problem. I'll call him my baby until I feel like stopping, which will be never. But I was having a discussion with him. And after that discussion, because he's like acting all grown up now. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though he is all grown up. That's the point. He's a man. But you know, like sometimes when I'm talking to him or my other son who's older, like sometimes I see like the little boys, and to me, it's fascinating. They're men talking to me as men. And sometimes I'm like, I see the little guys and have to switch over to the men. And so it's funny sometimes to watch that. And, you know, he's crossing his leg and he's very polite, so dad. And I'm like, damn, what the hell happened to my babies and all that? But the point I'm making is this. When they were little and growing up, I was what? I had to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what they did. I couldn't go and say, well, it's their fault. It might be. And I deal with that. But as far as the overall issue, I'm responsible. And that was my responsibility until when they became an adult. Now, I don't have to take responsibility anymore. If the cops or somebody called me and said, one of your sons, I'm like, really? Which one? Like, oh, what did they do? Oh, that thing I already talked to them about from they were 7. Did they break the law? Yes. Then the law must prevail. Are they 18 and older? Yes. Then I cannot take responsibility. But do let them know that I might come and visit them. See my point?
Yes.
Like that. And so it's the same thing in terms of a trust administrator's responsibility. The administrator has the duty, but the trustee still has the responsibility. You might be surprised to know how long it takes some people, even some trustees and administrators in practice, to understand that concept, especially if something goes wrong and somebody's looking to blame somebody. All of a sudden there's a big discussion about whose duty and whose responsibility it is. Sometimes it gets to the point where they can't resolve it in-house. They have to go to court to see who has the duty and who has the responsibility, wasting bloody time and money unnecessarily, because it is clear. The administrator has the duty, the trustee has the
Responsibility.
simple as that. All right, keep going.
Where did I stop? Oh, the trust administrator.
On the other side. What the heck?
Okay, the trust administrator is always required to discharge his administrative tasks and responsibilities within the context of the powers granted to the trustees within the trust instrument and terms of the trust generally.
In other words, I don't care what a great administrator you might be, you can't act ultra vires to the instrument. Is that understood?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care who you think you are, how brilliant you are. And a lot of trust administrators are lawyers. Are any of you lawyers?
No.
Good. Any of you know any lawyers?
Yeah.
Many.
Then you'll know that some lawyers have this lawyer thing about them. What do I mean by lawyer thing?
They know it all.
They know it all.
Oh, you guys know that. I didn't want to be accused of being the first and the last person on earth to say or know that. Yes, some of them still have this know-it-all complex, which is unfortunate because they don't know anything other than the law that they've studied. See my point? If you're an open heart surgeon, you can't fix anybody's foot because you're not a foot doctor, are you?
No.
You are a heart surgeon. But doesn't keep us from still feeling like puffed up about trust, strangely enough. Same thing happens in the trust world, okay? We have to be careful as administrators that we don't get caught up in what our responsibilities and our duties are. We have to know the differences we have to also understand that we have certain powers that we have as administrators, and there are certain powers that the trustee has in terms of his responsibility, and the administrator needs to make sure that his duties do not overlap. Because sometimes, you know, some administrators they feel so powerful within the trust corporation that they try to act ultra vires even the trustee. And then what do you think happens then? Anybody? You're in charge and somebody's trying to act over your head. What would you do? Tell them thank you very much for going over my head?
Would you fire them? You want to fire them?
Well, maybe. Some people fire because they're thin skinned, they can't take it. Other people are a little more professional. They would call you in and say, Leslie, I noticed that in the last few weeks you've been making decisions that are ultra vires to your position. Decisions that you're well aware fall within my purview as the trustee or head of whatever area. So therefore, Leslie, some of my colleagues have suggested that I fire you, and some textbooks have suggested it as well. But I am feeling generous this 2020 coronavirus year, and I'm going to give you another opportunity to operate only within your duties and responsibilities, and give me your word that you will not let them overlap into mine. How about that? So the whole point, I know, the reason why I made it a little dramatic, because the textbook doesn't get into the human drama. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
But I don't want you to assume that there is no human drama.
Yes.
This textbook stuff that you're learning is just designed to get you familiar with what is required. But don't think for one moment that there aren't human issues involved every single bloody God-forsaken, yes. Well, you know that from your current jobs. Nothing changes because you're doing trust work. It's the same stuff, just trust work. All right, keep going.
Another administrative task of the trust administrator is to obtain and carefully review and analyze the bank and investment statements in relation to trust assets.
Why would we do that? Why would the administrator do that? You think?
Another administrative.
Yeah, why would they
That's-
analyze the bank statements and investment statements?
They have to give account.
Yeah, they have to give an account, of course.
Accounts prepared in the event that the beneficiaries wants to examine.
Absolutely. Don't assume for 1 minute. As a matter of fact, that part of it is more crucial than anything else oftentimes. You better know what's going on in those beneficiary accounts. So when those beneficiaries ask, they don't only want an answer, they want it when? Last year.
They want to see it.
Immediately, quickly, and they want it to be correct. And make no mistake, whatever they ask for this year, they will compare it to what year? Last year. And if there are any discrepancies, what do you think they're gonna do?
Get a call.
Well, hopefully not right
Query
away.
it first then.
Yeah, they'll query it. Absolutely. See? Query. Now let me ask you guys something. Has anybody ever raised a query in the last month on anything at all? Am I the only one who raises queries?
No, I mean, on anything?
On anything?
I think on the
Yeah,
virus.
like why we locked down?
On the what?
COVID-19 virus.
Why are we locked down?
Oh, the query is, why are we in lockdown again? Okay, that's a damn good query. I can't argue with that. Should we be in lockdown again?
Yes.
Yes. Should everybody be in lockdown?
No.
You mean the innocent should suffer for the guilty?
Everybody.
We are suffering for the guilty.
Yes, we are. That's my point. I'm just being nice about it. We are. The innocent is suffering. The innocent always suffers for the guilty across the board. interestingly enough. And that doesn't cause guilty people to stop doing what they're doing, interestingly enough. So let's assume then, based on that query, who are the beneficiaries of this query, of this lockdown? Who are the First of all, who's the trustee in this whole lockdown thing?
What the benefit?
Who?
Competent authority,
Yeah, who is just whom?
the Prime Minister.
Yeah, and his government, right?
Mhm.
Which we elected. How's that? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But yes, the Prime Minister and the government are the trustees. Who are the beneficiaries of this current situation?
Ah,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
us, those of
They
us
would
who
have
follow.
us believe we are.
Yeah, those of us who follow the rules and do what we're supposed to do, we're the beneficiaries. And that includes those who are not following the rules, by all means. Who is the settler, you think, in this whole COVID thing? Who settled this
Nobody.
trust in the first place?
Sorry, who?
Who
China.
settled this trust that the government is the trustee of?
China.
Yes, who said that?
They sent COVID here.
Who the hell said China? Somebody said it and then ran. Who said China?
Somebody.
No, why nobody wants to admit to saying China?
I said China.
Way to go,
Let's
Leslie.
see.
So do I. And I say it and I say it again. All of a sudden we blame Trump when the Chinese did it. Nobody wants to blame the Chinese. Let me see many Chinese outside my window. It doesn't matter. That's a fact. And all of a sudden, you turn on CNN, they don't say Chinese. You turn on Fox, nobody says Chinese. You turn on BBC, nobody says Chinese.
Forget about China.
You go on YouTube, nobody says Chinese. Everywhere you go is Trump, 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 Trump. And menace. Trump and menace. Menace and Trump, let us go. The whole world is dying and has far more than, but those are the only two names we can remember in this whole trusteeship. Interesting. Who's the administrator or administrators of this COVID thing in terms of our trusteeship? Anyone?
The health.
The health group.
People.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just saying all of this, not because like that's in your textbook. None of this COVID thing, when this text thing was written, there was no such thing as COVID-19. But you can see right away that you can draw an analogy straight away if you have any imagination at all. Interesting. All right, keep going.
The trust administrator may also be required to make inquiries of bankers and investment advisors and investment managers in relation to the assets holding of the trust, and in some instances, inspect trust property to ensure that it is protected and preserved in accordance with the terms of the trust and generally.
Why would a trustee and his administrator check trust property? Isn't that a waste of time?
No, they're still ultimately responsible
Of
for
course,
it, even though it's outsourced.
of course. Remember also that if your bank says you have $50 million in the bank, should you accept your banker's word?
No, you need to keep checking on it.
I need to see that.
Of course. You'd be a fool not to, wouldn't you? You'd be a fool if they tell you your account is $1,000. Like if somebody tell you have $1,000 in your account, wouldn't you go there tomorrow morning first thing as soon as they open up and go on the senior citizens line to go in first? To check it? Of course. It's the same principle. Why is the trustee checking all these things? Because it's not the trustee's property, is it? It's the beneficiary's property. And if something goes wrong, who's liable?
The trustee.
Of course. Okay? So there's no rocket science in terms of checking the assets. If you're buying a piece of property, would you inspect it? Or you just take their word for it that it's in cat key? Lot number 2, subset number 7. Would you just take somebody's word and sign the document?
Not these days.
Well, you shouldn't do that in no day. If you're buying property anywhere, you have to go and look at it.
Yeah, might be in the middle of the ocean.
Of course, worse still, it might not exist at all.
Truly.
How about that? You're signing the hell away for something that doesn't even exist. At least if it's in the ocean, you can put on some goggles and snorkels and swim and sit on it, sort of. But sometimes it may not be there at all. But you're relying on the reports of others, not checking, and when push comes to shove and you have to give an account for the assets, they're not there. And suddenly, you as trustee are in deep, something we used to say in the old days, you're in trouble. Okay? All right, keep going.
As the beneficiaries of a trust are required to be properly informed in accordance to the terms of the trust and or trust law, the trust administrator must keep the beneficiaries fully informed of the trust and any changes to the trust, inclusive of providing them with information regarding the trust accounts and the decision of the trustees that may affect their entitlements or are in response to their requests on a timely basis. Just like what you said.
Sorry? Yes.
I said just like what you said.
Absolutely. No argument there whatsoever. Okay, keep going.
The timely exercise of a trustee's discretion in accordance with the terms of the trust instrument is another responsibility of the trust administrator. Any inaction or omission on the part of the trustee in exercising his discretion as mandated by the trust instrument may result in liability for breach of trust.
So now this is a case where it is a discretionary trust, but in the opinion of the beneficiaries, the trustee is not properly exercising that discretion. And sometimes you might wonder, well, if it's in his discretion, who's to tell him when to act? Well, technically, no one. However, you cannot fail to act indefinitely, nor can you omit an action. You have to do something, and you have to do it within what? A reasonable time. Because if you don't, we now all know that they will come after you for breach of trust. And depending on how long you've taken to exercise your discretion and the way you decided to go about it, some trustees have found themselves wanting because they start feeling like they're gods of the trust. Do you understand, folks? You know, like certain civil servants who've been on the job a long time, like after a while, they think they could behave however they want. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Not only civil servants, people and stuff, period. Church, government, private sector, head of the Boys Brigade, head of the Girl Scout, head of the Deaconess Ministry, head of the choir, whatever. If folks have been somewhere for too long, they start acting funny. Like they're gods in that job and they're not answerable to anyone except God, no, not even God sometimes anymore. Sometimes trustees do that. They get so comfortable in their jobs and in their power position, quote unquote, that they start violating even their discretionary mandate, oftentimes to their detriment. Okay, and then the final paragraph.
The trust administrator must ensure that any relevant consents or notices that are required to be obtained prior to the exercise of a trustee's discretion are obtained in advance of the exercise. This task is important to avoid any liability to the trustees or any losses to the trust which may have been experienced due to the improper or invalid exercise of the trustee's discretion.
All right, so again, any experienced, competent administrator will make sure, even if their trustee is a quote unquote don't care fi trustee. Anybody ever heard that word? Don't care fi?
Don't what?
Don't care fi. No?
No.
That's okay. It's an old word from my grandmother's time, which means that you don't care. And sometimes some trustees are so wrapped up in their own lives and their own deals and their own importance and their own politics and all that. They don't even oftentimes stop to find out what the administrator is doing. They don't listen to administrators' advice and all that stuff. So administrators find themselves having to act with even greater care, not only to protect the trustee, albeit a waiver trustee, but also to protect themselves, their reputation, and their jobs. Do you follow? So they have to make sure that all these things are happening so that they don't become liable, either directly or indirectly, because of some trustees' indiscretion. Unfortunately, in the real world, it happens more often than you hear in the news. Because unlike Donald Trump and COVID and all that, you don't hear about these things in the news unless something major happens. All right. Okay, Nishka, thank you so much for all that information. It was again another gut load of information for you guys to kind of try to work your way through. Next, we have Cohen. Cohen, can you pick up from since? And then I'll change my page when you get to the end.
Since trustees are required to account for trust property, they are mandated by law to keep financial records and accounts regarding trust property, which may be requested by the beneficiaries at any time. The trustee's duty to account is related to the beneficiaries' general right to information regarding the state of the trust and the trust property. However, trustees may prohibit the beneficiaries from having access to information, even information that they are allowed to obtain, if, in their opinion, to grant such access or provide such information would be harmful or detrimental to the trust.
Which is a very interesting point. What was the key document that we said that beneficiaries did not have access to?
The
The
minutes.
minutes.
The minutes. But there are some other things that they could see, like
Accounts.
accounts and accounts and what else?
Record.
Yeah, only accounts?
Only accounts as far as I know.
That's the only thing that the text refers to, account?
Trustee. The
The
trustee.
trust deed, of course. Of course, those are the two key documents. What about investment reports? Do you think they should see them?
As a part of trustee deliberation, right?
Yeah, accounts as well.
No, let's say the investment accounts would be a part of the accounting records, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hello? Here's, for example, if a beneficiary requests to see the financial statements of the trust, they may then go down to the trust investments, which is their stuff, isn't it? And the trust investment account might have $5 billion in it. Some that beneficiary will say, yippee, 5 billion. It was 4 billion last year. We made an extra billion. We're richer. Thank God I can go home and rest. But not every beneficiary is going to just accept that. Some beneficiaries are going to be curious, right?
So
They're going to say, can I see the documents, first of all, to confirm these balances? And then, can I see all the supporting documents to show the increase from $4 million in 2019 to $5 million in 2020? Should the trustee or the administrator show those documents? According to this information, the answer is yes, because they are all supplemental documents, are they not?
supplemental.
Supplemental. In other words, has anybody here ever done accounting?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like much. I always tell students, no matter what profession you're in, or just about what profession you're in, especially in financial services and business, even if you're not an accountant, you should at least do a fundamental accounting course or two. Okay? It has huge benefits in more ways than one. Even if you're a trustee, it still puts you ahead of the game if you know a little bit about accounting. For sure. Okay. Have you guys done trust accounting yet?
We done.
No,
For,
it's coming
for
up.
it's coming up.
Next chapter, general principles of trust accounting.
Yeah, and trust me, it's only general. There's a whole lot more to it than those few pages that you will discuss. That doesn't even get into the debits and credits and the financial reporting and how to read them, how to interpret them, and all that kind of stuff. As a trustee, evaluating some trustee's account. But again, if you're a trust officer, oftentimes you don't have to worry about that because trust departments all oftentimes have trust accountants. But
Yes,
if you're a
they do.
trust officer and you know a little bit about what the trust accountants are doing, then you can do your job a little more what? Effectively.
Easy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So when you guys are done with all this stuff, I encourage you to at least do one or two basic bookkeeping accounting sessions so that you can add to your armor.
Yep.
Okay. I know the reason why I raised it, I am in discussions now with the Institute about possibly running a 10-week certification class in fundamental bookkeeping and accounting practices. So you don't have to necessarily get an associate degree or a 2-year diploma or all that. But by the time you're done with the 10 or 12 weeks, you have the basic fundamental information. So be on the lookout for that. If you see it, steal some money from somebody you know, pay them back and do it.
Okay.
Okay, whatever you do, take advantage of it. I can assure you, you will not regret it. Okay?
Okay.
And since everything is on lockdown until Christmas, it's a good time to do all that crazy stuff. Because remember, when the world really opens up for true. Anybody ever heard that expression?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you may not even have time to study. Your employers may not have time to be bothered with whether you want to be paying for classes. You will just work, kill yourself. Don't ask, you didn't know any classes. You should have done it in lockdown or whatever. So if you see it come along and you can do it, I say do it.
Good.
Trust me, it'll benefit you down the road. All right, keep going, Cohen.
Oh, sorry, I want to ask a question, please.
Sure, go ahead.
If a person wanted to get into the accounting field, like how would they get into it? Like what's the
Now, how far in accounting would you like to go?
Oh.
Now, see, let me tell you. Let me tell you why I say that. Let me tell you why I ask you that. See, you could do a 1-year to 2-year diploma class in accounting and say, I have a diploma in accounting. Or you can do a 1-year, you can do the certification I told you about, and after 12 or 14 weeks, say, I have a certification in accounting fundamentals. You can do a 1-year certificate class and say, I have a certificate in accounting. You can do a 2-year diploma class and say, I have a diploma in accounting. You can do a 4-year bachelor's degree class and say, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. And then you can do a 6-year master's degree program, which is 2 more after the bachelor's, and say, I have a master's degree in accounting. And then somewhere between the bachelor's and the master's, you can study for your CPA examinations and say that I'm a certified public accountant. And now I can go and work in an audit firm and conduct audit and do all kinds of crazy stuff. See what I mean? So it depends on how far you want to go. Now my question is, hypothetically, how far would you like to go?
Okay.
Would you just like to be acquainted with it, or would you like to become a CPA?
No, I don't want to be a CPA.
Okay, that's okay, because not everybody wants to be any bloody CPA. All right, so if you don't want to do the CPA, you basically want to be able to understand how accounting works and prepare financial statements.
Yeah, I want experience.
Say it again?
I need to gain that experience.
Indeed, indeed. So basically what you need to do is at least a 1-year accounting class. And the reason why I say that is this. You can either do You can either do the 12-week certification that you will see soon and then ask yourself, is that enough for me for what I want? Or you can then go on and do 2 additional classes at Fundamentals Accounting 1 and Fundamental Accounting 2. And when you finish those 2 classes, and you can do those at BIFS or any institution that you choose, they offer it there. When you've done those 2 semesters, each at 12 weeks each, then you can ask, and they'll take you from basic and preparing of entries and transactions all the way up to the preparation of financial statements. And when you've gotten to that point, then you can ask yourself, is this enough accounting for me and what I want to do? And your answer, if I'm thinking correctly, might be yes. Absolutely. Okay. So I would say, if you see the certification, do it first. See if that's enough of a bookkeeping and accounting for you. If you feel you want to do a little bit more, then I would say enroll and do accounting 1. When you finish accounting 1, if you feel that you want to do a little bit more, I would say then go ahead and do accounting 2. And for you, based on what I'm hearing, that might be more than enough for you.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, great. Fantastic. And if you have companies who are paying for you, or husbands who are paying, or mommy and daddies who are still paying, and you don't have to pay for yourself, do it. And do it now. Don't procrastinate. But I dare tired after that trust thing. I want to rest until 2023. Don't do that. Okay? When I say, man, you read my mind. Take advantage of it, especially if somebody is agreeing to pay. And even if they're not, still take advantage of it if you can. Because seasons change quickly.
Yeah.
Right? All right. A word to the wise is?
Sufficient.
Okay, keep going.
All right. Since Section 83 of the Trustee Act 1998 allows beneficiaries to inspect trust deeds, accounts, and other trust documents, except trust minutes, the trust administrator must ensure that such documents are properly presented when requested and are organized in the appropriate trust files.
Why should they be organized, folks? Like, what's with all that trouble? What's the big deal? Why don't just give it to them?
Easily accessible.
Yeah, not only accessible, but it has to be in an order that they can read it and understand it. You can't give them a box and say, here.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. Man, all hell will break loose. You may not be trustee the next day,
No.
so to speak. Okay? All right, keep going.
This action is also important in the event that the trustee is asked to give information on the administration of the trust, as may be required by the beneficiaries or the court.
Now, the reason why that particular clause is there, folks, is you see how simple that is written? That area of the trust business, as it is in many other types of businesses, creates some of the biggest problems ever. For example, beneficiary calls on Monday. Can I please have my trust balance? The person who takes the call writes it down but doesn't give it to the trust accountant or the trust administrator. Do you follow, folks? It is sitting on their bloody desk. Wednesday rolls around. They still don't have the balance. So they call on Thursday. Can I please have the balance? Oh, sorry. And then they give it to the trust administrator who's busy in many meetings for COVID. So they put it down. So 2 weeks passes and they write back and say, can I have my bloody flicking some other things balance? See? So every week they're getting what?
Irate.
Yes.
Frustrated.
For a simple request.
Balance.
Yes. And some of you should know that from your own work experiences, no doubt, past and present, where customers call in with a simple request and we get to it when we feel like it. Then when they come in, naked with their clothes off cussing, then we say, what this crazy woman cussing for? Stupid black people, or whatever we call it. See? When in fact, what has happened? We are responsible. Yes. See? And I keep telling young professionals, middle-aged professionals, and old dead horses who still working. when when a customer calls, stop acting like they're an inconvenience.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever they ask for, if you're busy, fine. But as soon as the hell you're not, get it. Give it to them and
Yes.
thank them for doing business with you. Do you follow that, folks?
Yes.
I don't care how you feel, what your mood is, and who got you vexed or whatever. These little queries can oftentimes make or break relationships. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Whether it's trust or any other area. Now regulators like central bank and other government departments, you know, they so stingy, like as far as they're concerned, they ain't going nowhere. So if you don't like it, lump it, carry your tail home and wait. But it does apply to the government sector as well, everywhere. When a customer raises a query, for God's sake, get to it as quickly as you can and answer it. Same thing with beneficiaries. When they raise a question, they want the administrator and their people to answer it as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they would not have called. They don't have forever to wait. Maybe their answer depends on something important in their lives, right, folks? They needed to get something else important done. If you don't get it to them on time, they lose that opportunity. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And put yourselves in their shoes. If it was you, would you want somebody to wait around until Corona passes next year? Oh, no.
No.
Absolutely not. All right. So that same small little sentence has created nightmares for trustees and others because folks have not responded. I wouldn't talk about the courts. When you're on a SENS request and you mess around about you're delaying that, your chances, you're putting your organization in jeopardy. Even if you have a chance to win, you might piss off a judge and cause your chance of winning to become what? Less.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Because you're responding to the judge's request from the courts. You insolent doggone administrator. Don't you know the court has requested it? And we want it, and we want it when?
Now.
Absolutely. Doggone it. I know. I said it a little dramatically for a reason. Keep going, Cohen, so you can remember.
The trust administrator must also take special care to ensure that amendments to the trust instrument are done in accordance with any express powers reserved within the trust instrument to do so or any other method prescribed.
In other words, don't act what? Ultra virus, beyond your power. But I'm the administrator, I've been there 17 years, I can do it. No way, it doesn't matter if you've been there 90 years. You still have to act within the rules unless they change. Simple as that. Period. Okay, keep going.
The amendment to the trust instrument must be clear and unequivocal.
Unequivocal.
Yeah,
Unequivocal.
Yeah,
Unequivocal.
unequivocal means with
unequivocal,
unequivocal.
Clear and unequivocal. Thanks.
Yeah, unequivocal, without a doubt. So if you hear somebody say, look, the matter is unequivocal, they mean they're absolutely certain. Don't question me any further. I have no doubt about it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. And the trust administrator should ensure that all changes to be made in the administration of trust, example, changes in beneficial entitlements, consents, etc., due to the amendments made to the trust instrument that are duly noted. The trust administrator should not only protect and preserve trust property due to the proposed amendments, but also ensure that the legal protections and remuneration of the trustee are not adversely affected. He must also take care that the proposed amendments are not contrary to existing law, create additional responsibilities, or increase the risk exposure of the trustees without adequate legal protection or increased remuneration.
Now, bear in mind, what this is telling you is this. an administrator in carrying out his duties might find that there's a situation that comes up that requires an amendment to the trust instrument. If they feel that that is so, in consultation with the trustee, they will then consult their attorneys and discuss with the beneficiaries. And if everybody's on the same page that the trust instrument should be amended, for some reason, that amendment will take place within the rules and within the law. That's basically, we don't see that too often, but occasionally that happens. Okay.
In what instance would a trust, would there be requirement to amend a trust deed?
The trustee might decide that the remuneration from 1967 when the PLB won the government, that remuneration £3.10 is no longer adequate. They should now get $1 million.
Is it only relative to remuneration, or can another aspect?
No, it's not only relative remuneration. In a discretionary trust, the decision might be taken that generally the trustee might be using his discretion in a certain way, and they may want to amend the trust instrument that perhaps can inhibit the extraterritorial use of his discretion. In other words, instead of him being able to say with a particular beneficiary that he'll do anything he wants, they might try to seek some kind of restriction through the courts, and as a result have the trust deed amended accordingly. Or it might be a case where the settlers come up with a fixed amount, and it might be determined together that the fixed amount is not adequate. You follow?
Okay.
And so they might agree with the beneficiaries, go to court, and the courts could rule. And okay, your case is strong. That $10,000 a year that was put in place back in 1959, that is no longer adequate for that particular beneficiary, and therefore make an order to have it amended to 20,000.
Okay.
Okay, so any amendment can take place as long as it's sanctioned by the beneficiaries and or the courts, so to speak. All right, okay. Keep going.
That's it.
Cohen? Oh, that's it?
Continue?
Yes.
Okay. Not only should the trust administrator ensure that the legal formalities to effectuate the amendment are recognized and executed, but he must also take action in carrying out any and all duties that may assist in the efficient functioning and effective administration of the trust subsequent to the amendment.
Absolutely. So in other words, make sure that you oversee the process, in this case, the amendment, as you do with everything else, distributions, filing, information, accounts, whatever. Make sure you do it adequately and within the confines of the original instrument and the law itself and the act. Of course, in conjunction where necessary with the beneficiaries as well. Now, one point I want to make with regards to when we can amend the trust instrument. Who was that who asked that question?
Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy. If you want additional information, just out of curiosity, you could pull a Cohen and go to Google and say, under what conditions might one consider amending a trust instrument, see? And somebody will give their opinion. Just bear in mind that those are not all of the conditions. And we know that anything that goes to court can be subject to anything that we present to the court if we can present a sufficient case, okay? But it will give you some indication further on the kinds of amendments that might occur. All right, any questions so far, other than what you've asked already, which were great ones, okay? So let us then take a break from the lecture thing and look at the answers for the unit under trust administration. Okay, so let's go to the self-assessment test. Okay. Do you see that? The self-assessment test?
Yes.
Can you guys see my email?
No.
Oh, great. Thank God. That was close. Might see something. This bloody Zoom, it starts zooming in on other stuff. Okay, So let's see who is our first. Hey, Cohen is first this time on my schedule. Okay,
Okay.
Cohen. He said, damn, I was trying to go a little lower.
Who has overall
Number one, yes.
Who has overall responsibility for the administration of the trust under the guidance and oversight of the trustee?
Yes.
Answer is the trust administrator.
Yes, the trust administrator, you got the easy one. Okay, Joan, let's go. He's like,
2, the exercise of the discretion by the trustees is normally shared by members of a trust committee. For
yeah,
professional trustees whose deliberations are often documented in trustee minutes which do not become trust property and are not required to be disclosed to the beneficiaries or a court of competent jurisdiction.
okay, thank you very much. Number 3, Anishka.
Number 3, the trust administrator must also be knowledgeable of the terms and parties to the trust.
Absolutely. Number 4, Galaxy. Oh, Galaxy, you didn't get to do this. Galaxy just gets to fill stuff in. I suggest we all hold it against her until the exam is over, then we could release her. Number 4, Leslie.
Number 4, additionally, trust administrators should understand and be knowledgeable of the trust laws.
Does anybody agree?
Of the trust laws governing the duties of trustees. Yeah, trust laws.
Yes, trust laws
Yes.
is correct. She's sticking with that. That is correct. Okay, Cohen, back to you.
The trust administrator is encouraged to review the trust instrument and documents and to familiarize him on the beneficiaries, their entitlements, the trustees' duties and powers generally, the appointment of agents, trustee investments, and the overall terms governing the trust.
Absolutely. We just kind of had that discussion earlier. That's correct. Review of the trust instruments and the documents. Okay, Joan.
Number 6, Section 83 of the Trustee Act 1998 allows beneficiaries to inspect trust deeds, accounts, and other trust documents except trust minutes.
Indeed. I suspect that there is a reason why we say clearly the trust deed and the accounts, and then when we get to the other trust documents, we don't say what the other is, because
Right.
oftentimes the other is not known until the courts determine what they are. Do you follow, folks? But we know for sure that they may see the trust deeds, they may see accounts and everything connected to the accounts, all the supporting documents, but they cannot see for sure trust instruments, and the other trust documents will be disclosed at the discretion of the courts. Okay, Anishka.
Number 7, the trust administrator must also take special care to ensure that amendments to the trust instruments are done in accordance with any express powers reserved within the trust instrument to do so, or any other method prescribed.
Absolutely, express powers in writing. The whole thing about the administrator is to follow the rules and follow them competently and completely. That's the whole idea. Okay, Leslie?
Number 8,
Yes? No, not, yes, 8.
the amendment to the trust instrument must be clear and unequivocal.
Yeah, that crazy one, unequivocal.
Oh, unequivocal. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Cohen, what does unequivocal mean again?
Clear.
Without a?
Not a dub.
Yes.
On point.
He's not going to forget that. As a matter of fact, so first, the minute somebody piss him off at work, he says, look, my position is unequivocal in this matter. And then he said, what the hell happened to Cohen? You swallow the dictionary overnight. That's the whole idea. That's why you sit these sessions out. You're not just having a party, aren't you? It's for a reason. And those reasons will kick in due season. Okay? Let me give you an example. Anybody has children in this group?
Yes,
Who?
Joan.
Joan and Galaxy.
Joan, how old is how many kids do you have, Joan?
2 girls,
2 girls. What ages are they again?
16 and 20.
My. So you are older than you look.
Mhm.
Oh,
Showing up a 20-year-old, okay.
can you believe that? She
I
look like
can't
she's
believe that. She up a 20.
no, she look like she's about 20, like a little older than my baby. Bahamian women, they don't get old. Galaxy, what ages are your kids?
16 and 18.
My.
Oh.
Boy, unbelievable. You guys must have found the fountain of
That's the buying
youth.
stress.
Has to be.
Yeah, for real.
Some crap is going on.
For
Something
real.
about Bahamian women do not show their ages. Okay, it's crazy. I saw one of an old colleague from back in the other day when I was out doing some stuff with my wife. He sneak up on me and say, "Sam, I see you out with this young gal." And this me to myself, if he knows how old my wife is, he'll drop dead. Okay? Nobody believes that chick's age. Sometimes I have to look at myself,
Boy.
what the hell? Seriously, that's Bahamian women. Bahamian women take forever and 36 years to get to look their age, like old.
Some now.
Not everybody.
I'm sorry.
No, I know. I know what you mean. I just that's true.
That's
Not
a very
everybody.
nice compliment. That's
Yeah,
very nice
that's
compliment.
true. Not everybody, but no, doggone it. Whenever you see it, it's like seriously so. All right, unequivocal. All right, who's next? Cohen. Cohen thought he was gonna get off because I told him with that unequivocal thing. Number 9, Cohen.
Number 9, the trust administrator should not only preserve trust property due to proposed amendments, but also ensure that the legal protection and remuneration of the trustee are not adversely affected.
Absolutely. So whatever crap you're doing, Mr. Administrator, on my behalf, don't mess with anything that's gonna mess with my money, and don't mess with anything that's gonna mess with my protection from liability. Does everybody get that? That's really what it means in English. In case you didn't get that. All right. So the trustee is always concerned about what? His money and his legal status, obviously. If I was a trustee, I'd be concerned about too. Even as an individual, shouldn't you be concerned about those 2 things?
Yes.
Your legal status and your money, for sure. Any one of them get rattled, you're in trouble. Correct? All right, Joan, number 10.
Not only should the trust administrator ensure that the legal formalities to effectuate the amendment are recognized and executed, but he must also take action in carrying out any and all duties that may assist in the efficient functioning and effective administration of the trust subsequent to the amendment.
Any objections, anyone? Okay, thank you very much. Perfect. All right. I have 2 more things on my schedule and then we're done. Before you move into, damn, we did 4 weeks ago already. Didn't we just say hello?
Yeah.
Man, unbelievable. All right, as usual, you know I'm not gonna let you go without my usual video presentation to augment some of the things we're talking about so that you can see again what's happening in the real world, what people in the legal profession especially are saying with regards to these trust issues, because trustees are oftentimes in contact with their lawyers more than anybody else. And those who do not have accounting departments, they're in touch with their outsourced accounting functions. Most of them, if they're large trustees, they have their own in-house accounting departments and all this kind of stuff. But their lawyers, they're constantly in touch with that legal position, remember? So let's see what folks are saying out in the world about the duties of the duties and roles of the administrator. Okay, there we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Perfect, here we go.
Hey, I'm your host for Law Talk with the Flock. I'm Gina Guzman, CEO and Managing Attorney, author and business owner at the Guzman Law Firm. And I am here to help navigate you through the law.
Busy chick, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing a lot of stuff. Everybody's super busy. Okay.
Your business and life as a leader. And today I have a guest with me, attorney Andy Simpson, who is an estate and business attorney at the Gooseman Law Firm. And we're going to be talking a little bit about administering a trust. I'm really excited to have you on today, Andy.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. And we're talking about Law Talk with the Flock and estates and business and trust. So tell me a little bit about your background in this area.
So I've been practicing law for about 15 years now, and I started in a small law firm where the bread and butter of our practice was wills, trusts, and estates. And as our clients age, they pass on, and the natural progression of that is to work on the probate and the trust administration after people pass away.
And way back in the day, you got your blue on because you're a Creighton Blue Jay, just like I am, right?
That's right. Yeah, I went to law school at Creighton, 2004, and I also went to undergrad at UNL. So much like you, we
Yes.
go both ways on that.
J-Skers.
That's right. Yeah,
So I got the red on and you got the blue on today.
we covered it.
We
Yep.
got it. We got them all covered. So
Absolutely.
in Nebraska, we're good.
Yep.
Am I the only one that recognizes they haven't gotten to the discussion of trust administrators yet?
No.
They introducing themselves.
For pretty long, aren't they?
Having a small tour.
Yeah, like why are they taking so
For
long?
half of the video, right?
Yeah. Or somebody even doing the math already. They're almost half of the bloody video. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So clearly they're not doing these videos just to inform us, are they? What else are they doing these videos for?
Promoting themselves as
Of
lawyers.
course, marketing. Doggone it. All right. Hope they're done with themselves. Let's see what happens.
Very common in this office to have that.
It's
So,
true. It's true. We have a lot of Nebraska and Creighton.
They're not done. What the hell? Is it just me? Okay. Sorry, I'm just being a devil's advocate to introduce you to another side of the world. Like while they're talking about trust issues and waiting for them to talk about trust administrators, here they are having a long discussion about the fact that they were on the Georgia Bulldogs football team or something. Okay.
People here, don't we?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, you joined us in the Omaha office of the Gooseman Law Firm last year, and we've been really excited to have you on the team. And I know this is a strong.
They're not done. Is it me?
It's not you.
Am I just getting like old and impatient or something? Okay. Let's see if they'll get to it soon.
area that you focus on.
Yeah, it's been great. We've been here for about 9 months now, and as you know very well, everything is constantly moving. We move real fast, but we work hard and have fun. So
awesome. Well, your practice has been a really good fit for the firm, and we're super excited.
It's my foot. Have you guys heard anything about the trust administrator yet?
No.
No.
This is fascinating, don't you think?
They must not have a lot to say.
You know what? Let's go through this exercise just for the experience. What do you say? Just to see, like, not everything is about what we think it should be about. But so far, they haven't even said administrator yet. Okay, let's see what happens.
To have you on the team. So, Andy, what does it mean to administer a trust? Can you break that down for the folks that are listening?
So when I think administering a trust, I was thinking about this a little bit. There's a whole bunch of different types of trusts, but 95% of the trusts fall into the category of a living trust, which is an estate planning tool that people use to basically speed up the process when they pass away. And they fund it during their life. So that way, when they pass away, there's no need for a probate. So in that realm, the administration is generally the successor trust.
Does anybody in this group know what probate means?
When someone dies intestate and you gotta go to court to declare an administrator of assets, I think.
Interestingly enough, that is half correct. The truth is, whether it's testate or intestate, if it's a will, it still has to be probated, meaning that the courts will have to accept the will, read it, make a determination. If it's a will, if you die testate, you die with a will. The courts will look at the will, determine that it's legitimate, nobody's faked it, that it's the right will. And then it will look at the terms and conditions of the will to make sure that the executor of the will administers the will correctly. That's what probate is all about. That can take anywhere from 1 month to 6 weeks to years, depending on the type of will that it is and the assets involved, and any discrepancies and queries that might come up. Okay? A trust, on the other hand, is different from a will, because in a trust you say very specifically who gets what. And once you indicate that in your trust document, remember, the assets are no longer in control of the courts or anybody else. Who has the assets? The trustee.
The trustee.
And therefore the trustee will administer and distribute those assets according to your wishes. And so no court action and delays will be necessary. So it's a much faster process if you're able to set up a trust as opposed to writing a will. Unfortunately, for many people, setting up a trust requires an annual fee and some other technicalities that they're not prepared or they're unwilling to pay. And so they simply have a will done and say, when I dead, I gone, fight over it. How's that? So it really just depends on the individual. One is not necessarily better, but one is certainly faster.
Because the first trustee is gone. And they administer it by collecting the assets of the estate, paying the debts or any obligations that the decedent may have had as the trustee, and then they distribute the property of the trust to the benefactors of the trust that's set forth in the document. So,
one other thing you need to know, like a trust, in a will, if you have $100,000 in assets and you owe one or more people $60,000, the court, just like the trustee, will pay everything you owe first. Is that clear? Am I the only one in the room?
Unfortunately.
They will pay everyone that you owe first.
Right, and then
And then whatever is left will go to your beneficiaries. Okay, folks? So
Yeah.
if you die and leave debts, your beneficiary will get the net amount after debts are paid. That's why when you die under probate, they advertise to see if you owe anybody any money that you haven't disclosed. And sometimes persons don't disclose it hoping that they'll get away, and sometimes they probably do. But many times they don't. Because the courts will be very diligent in trying to find creditors. And creditors, as soon as they find out about your death, I can assure you, they will find their way to the courts to await the probate process. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
a general trust administration, it comes in a whole bunch of different packages, but
Okay, so there's a lot going on here. I'm going to break this down a little bit.
Sure.
I remember before I went to law school and I sat at Creighton Law and learned about trust and estates, I always thought a trust was like a Swiss bank account or something.
Yeah.
What is an actual trust? Isn't it just a contract?
It is, that's right. And in reality, a trust is a lot like a will. It just sets forth the person, again, talking about a living trust for estate planning purposes, generally is a contract between the person who's funding the trust with their assets and the beneficiaries of that trust. And they're appointing the trustee to manage those assets, so to speak. So it doesn't have to be super complicated, and most of them are not. But it's just a fabric for distribution of that person's assets when they pass away in a general sense.
And then unlike a will where you go through probate or the court process, the trust helps keep you out of that process and therefore it's more private.
It does, that's right. And so I like to use the word, I'm not sure if this is right, but I tell people it's a little bit of a legal fiction, because when you set up a living trust, you're still in charge of that trust. You fund it with your assets during your life, and 98% of them are revocable, so you can change them at any time. But because the assets are titled in the name of the trust, when you pass away, the trust owns those assets, and you do not need a probate to convey them to the beneficiaries, as opposed to you passing away and owning, let's say, a piece of real estate. It's now in your name alone if you don't put it in a trust, and you need a probate to have a judge appoint someone to have legal authority to convey the title to that asset to the beneficiaries. So that's the difference between a probate and a trust. The trust owns the assets upon your death, so title isn't necessarily in your name.
And then in a will, that person's called an executor and it goes through probate. And in a trust, that person's a trustee and the trust gets administered,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So those are the big differences.
100%.
All right. Now, who can be a trustee?
Anybody, really. It depends. Oh,
Let me ask you guys, see if you were here during the last 4 weeks. Who can be a trustee?
Anyone of legal age and
Age
then
and of
has
sound
capacity
mind.
able to hold property.
Yeah, anyone of legal age able to hold property? Is that it?
A sound
Not
mind and
bankrupt.
not bankrupt.
Yes, of sound mind and not bankrupt. Absolutely. So there's hope for you guys yet. This is good. This is good. What is the Latin term for of sound mind?
Sui
Good
juris.
juris.
Sui juris, yes. Okay. All right. Just checking to see where you are.
oftentimes in the run-of-the-mill family living trust, it usually is one of the beneficiaries, child, brother. If people are married, it's usually the other spouse, and then the last to die appoints really the person who does administer it, so that's a secondary trustee. There's, to my knowledge, no major prohibitions. I've seen lawyers do it, I've seen CPAs do it. Typically, the lawyer doesn't appoint themselves as trustees, so that way they're able to represent the trustee as legal counsel moving forward. So
if you're the trustee and you're somebody passes away and you know you're the trustee of that trust, how do you get started? What's the best course of action to get started?
So you usually go to the lawyer who drafted the trust.
Go to the lawyer.
That's right.
What a good answer.
Yeah. And that's important for lots of reasons, because what happens is when you take on that job, you're now a fiduciary for the other beneficiaries of the trust. And sometimes it's simple and sometimes it is not. And so the lawyer's job is to guide you through that process to make sure that you do everything correctly. In Nebraska, we have state inheritance tax. It also still needs to be paid on a trust.
Do we have inheritance tax in the Bahamas?
I'm not sure. Probably no. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the answer is no, we don't. At least not yet.
No.
Is that good or bad?
Good so far, I guess.
That's
Yeah,
good.
actually, it's neither good nor bad. It's
Oh,
down
no?
excellent. And the reason why I say that is because in the United States and Canada and Europe, for example, they have, and the UK, they have estate taxes. And what that means is whenever, let's say, your parents die and leave you certain assets as an inheritance, in the UK and Canada and the US and Europe, the average estate taxes can range anywhere from 30 to 60% of the value of those assets.
What?
Absolutely. So let's take an unfair number to begin with, which is 50%. Sometimes it's a little lower, sometimes a little higher, which means that if you inherit $300,000 from your parents in property and or cash together or individually, if the inheritance tax rate is called IHT is 50%, you will not get $300,000 from your parents. The government will take 50% and then you will get what's left. That is why a lot of people run to places like the Bahamas where there's no inheritance tax. And they want to move here and never go home to their home countries. Because,
Now.
yeah, because they know that whenever they inherit anything from anyone, that somewhere between 30 to 60%, depending on the country, will go directly to the government, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well,
Remuneration.
correct.
That's really one of the reasons why people set up living trust for estate planning purposes is it's faster upon your death. It's more private, as you said. We don't have to have public court filings like you would in a probate. And a good lawyer working well with the trustee can really get a trust administration done. I mean, we've shot for 60 to 90 days after the date of death, and that ultimately reduces costs. The lawyer is the first person to call. It always is. Yeah.
So if you're named as trustee, you don't need to be too concerned about it because you get to go work hand in hand with the lawyer and they'll guide you through the process essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, the trustee really is the laboring oar. Go out and identify all the debts, collect all the assets, and the lawyer can really help guide them with any of the intricacies and make sure that they really convey the assets the way the trust says they're supposed to go, because the lawyer presumably drafted the trust and has a better understanding of the way it's supposed to go, and you don't want to end up in a situation where you've misdistributed assets. So.
Now, if the lawyer didn't draft the trust, could they still come and hire you to help them through that process?
Sure, that happens a lot. It happens a lot where maybe the trustee is son and has a good relationship with their attorney, personal attorney, and mom maybe wasn't that person's client. So it happens a lot. Really, the attorney-client privilege is with that trustee, or the attorney-client relationship is with that particular trustee. So it's a working relationship, whoever you're most comfortable with.
And what about a bank? When would a bank get involved maybe, or a trust department?
Mm-hmm.
And what circumstances do people tend to appoint them to be the trustee?
So we see them a lot in special needs trusts that may go on for a long period of time. And that's a whole different sort of realm that we haven't discussed here. But we do see them a lot, financial institutions appointed as trustees in trusts that may have provisions for distribution of assets over a long period of time where the living life of the trustee may not work. So minor children, we will see that, and banks and other corporate fiduciaries will act as those trustees, and they're obviously going to live longer. We also see it in situations, I see it in situations when I draft trusts for clients where maybe the person who we're drafting the trust for tells me, I'm not real sure I need any of my relatives to be involved in this. They don't get along. It's not going to work out well. So we appoint a bank or a corporate trustee to do that, and they're neutral. They abide by the terms of the trust, and we remove the emotion from the equation that way.
You bet. So there are options for folks that don't have a responsible family member that they can have fill this role. They can hire someone to serve in that.
Question. What does remove the emotion mean?
A.
What does remove the emotion mean?
Somebody be objective, so.
Yes, oftentimes when money is becoming available, people lose their minds.
Yep.
And family members start fighting all the time. And so sometimes in order to avoid those fights, a settlor or the court even might appoint a trustee who is independent of all family members to administer the trust, and they will not get caught up in the emotions. They will look at the document, they will look at the instructions, and they will carry them out accordingly. And nobody could accuse them of favoring anybody else. You follow? If they have any problems, they could dig up the grave and beat up the person who set it up. How's that? All right.
Capacity, and then you would work with them as the attorney, you'd work with that financial institution as the trustee?
Yep, absolutely. We've done it both ways. You do generally see it. It is usually more the relative because, you know, the financial institution will charge a little bit more for a trustee's fee, but you don't want to miss the forest for the trees in that realm. And if you're able to avoid some conflict with that neutral party, it's generally cost effective in the long term. So.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for breaking this all down and having a dialogue with me today.
Okay. I just thought that before she goes into some post introductions. All right. Any questions? Anybody on the little clip? They didn't say the word administrator much because in that particular clip, the reference to trustee meant that the trustee was acting as his own administrator. Do you follow that?
Yes.
There was no appointment of a secondary person or corporation to be an administrator. So bear in mind that a trustee may act as his own administrator, or he may appoint an individual, department head, or external corporation to act as administrator on the trustee or the corporate trustee's behalf. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Wonderful. I have one more bit of information that I'd like to share with you, as not a video this time. Can you guys see that?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I need to share screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so who is going to be my last victim? Let's see, Cohen is read, Anishka is read. Galaxy, have you read for the evening?
Yes, I read.
Yes, she started us. I'll read.
That's wonderful, because I was going to pick on you anyway for not showing up in my first and last session. I'm not personally against you because I understand what you said. I'm just teasing you. And I'm using it as an opportunity to drag you back to the reading. How's that?
You mean Galaxy?
Galaxy, yes.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that Galaxy, doggone, everybody else has been here. We're picking on Galaxy tonight since she had all the fun.
Okay.
Okay, Galaxy, what does a trust administrator do? Pretty much a lot about what we already discussed. This is just to kind of cap it a little bit and send you off with a cover. Yes.
So you want me to just read it?
Yeah, can you see it?
Okay. Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Okay. If you have been chosen to serve as a trust administrator, you need to be aware that you will have some very substantial obligations if you decide to fulfill this role.
True or false?
True.
Okay.
I guess what they say, right?
Well, we've been talking about that all night. If you're an administrator, you have a bunch of things to do. Okay? So beginning with knowing the trust instrument inside out.
And
How about that? Not just like, oh, I'll have a martini and be drunk and read it. No, 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 no. You're going to read that document a couple of times and see it often. And that's only the instrument. That's nothing else yet. So there you go. Keep going.
That's a heavy role because some trust administrators oversee so many different trusts.
Absolutely. Hundreds and thousands, depending on how big the trust corporation is. For example, imagine UBS Trust. How huge that must be, not only in the Bahamas, but UBS worldwide. If you were to aggregate them, imagine that. And some of the trusts at UBS, for example, in Credit Suisse and so on, they are what we call legacy trusts. They've been around for centuries in some cases.
Wow.
Like they're 200 and 300 years old, passed down. How about that? So this thing is very real, okay? It's anything from a mosquito to a monster. Okay, keep going.
A trust creator may select you as a trust administrator, and if you agree to administer the trust, you will be responsible for managing trust assets and facilitating the transfer of assets during the trust administration process after a death.
Yes.
Frank and Kraft can provide you with help understanding what your responsibilities are as a trust administrator, and can help you to fulfill those responsibilities in order to ensure that you comply with your legal duties and honor the wishes of the deceased.
Who the hell is Frank and Kraft?
Trust company.
Yeah, any legal firm or
Advertisement,
yeah, like that same guy and that girl that would talk like marketing their legal firm. See? Because remember, trust business is big business for law firms in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean, and around the world. Make no mistake about it. Okay? They make huge amounts of money as law firms. Okay? Assisting with the administration of trusts. Big, big, big business. Keep going.
We work hard to make the trust administration process easy, quick, and inexpensive.
Is that a marketing thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not in-
If you were reading that as a trustee, you'd be thinking like, man, let me call them. I want somebody who's going to make it quick and easy because I am, as a trustee, I don't want any stress. Correct?
Right.
Absolutely. They're not just talking because they have nothing to do. These things have been clearly lined up. That's why I throw it in there as a sidekick, because you don't see that stuff in your trust notes that we did in Unit 9 or whatever, correct?
No.
No. Welcome to the real world where law firms are advertising and people are competing for trust business for obvious reasons. It's a huge money maker for lawyers and accountants and such people, investment managers, and a whole host of other professionals. Okay? Keep going.
We can also provide representation to heirs and or beneficiaries who want to ensure that the trust administrator is fulfilling his or her role during the trust administration process.
What do they mean?
Just
Sorry, what do they mean? What's the difference between an heir and a beneficiary?
the heir is the settlor. Is that the settlor?
Well, not really, but it's a
Beneficiary
good
will.
time.
Oh, okay.
An heir is a beneficiary under a will.
Inheritance.
Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are a beneficiary under your parents' will, you are an heir. If you're a beneficiary under a trust, you are a beneficiary. The end result is the same. People get stuff, but it's important to understand the difference, because even though wills and trusts act similarly, they are not the same. Question for Cohen, if he's still there.
Yeah.
Picking on Cohen, he's going. Cohen, if you don't wish to answer this question because you might find it incriminating, you don't have to. If someone were to ask you, not necessarily me, let's say Nishka. Nishka would ask you, Cohen, how many girls? Why, Nishka? I just pulled that. If Nishka would ask you, Cohen, how many girlfriends you had in your lifetime?
Oh, Lord.
What make you think he was answering me?
Remember, I told him he doesn't have to answer, only if he wants to.
He might answer you quicker than me.
I said I plead the fifth.
How many?
I plead the fifth.
Plead the Fifth
Oh.
Amendment.
That sounds like many.
Even though we don't have no fifth.
Pleading the fifth is an
So
answer.
even though we don't have no fifth.
He's pleading something we don't have. That doesn't count. He has to go and find out what we have in our law books to make
Yes.
it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but again, I guess I just threw that out randomly because in the real world of trust and administration, not everything is black and white. Do you follow? You might be able to collect your beneficiary rewards in a trust based on a trust that says if Cohen had 5 or less girlfriends, he gets to inherit. If he has 6 or more, he doesn't inherit. What would you do, Cohen? Would you lie or would you tell the truth?
It depends.
On point well taken. All right, thank you very much for even attempting to answer that wayward question. But it wasn't so wayward because welcome to the real world. Sometimes somebody always throws a what? Curveball. All right, keep going.
I can't, the thing doesn't want to open up.
What doesn't open?
Oh,
Galaxy?
just, just give us a call to find out more about the ways in which our firm can help you.
How about that? So they made sure, and well, I just kind of threw that in there on purpose, okay? So that you can see that in addition to all the academic mumbo jumbo, we have like real people out there running around trying to get business from each other. It's very competitive business. Notice these lawyers are actually double agents. They say if you want trust work done, we'll support the trustee. And on the other hand, for beneficiary get pissed off, we'll work for you too. As long as it doesn't create a what? Conflict of interest. How about that? Okay? All right. But the point is, they'll work any side of the fence depending on what's going on. Just show me the money. All right, keep going.
What does a trust administrator do? A trust administration completes many important tasks throughout the trust administration process, which takes place after a trust creator has died. The trust administration process is the process by which assets in the trust are transferred to their new owners after a death. It is an alternative to the probate process and is supposed to be faster and easier.
Now, folks, let me just say something. Some trust assets are passed on to beneficiaries immediately after the beneficiary dies, okay? And the trust is closed down, finished. However, some trusts can go on for years because it has so much money sitting in it, and the beneficiaries are only allowed to get some of it every year based on the settler's wishes and the trust instrument. You follow that? So you can have a trust that goes on for 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 or more years. Like, for example, the Bill Gates Foundation Trust. Imagine how much money is going to be sitting in there. That's not going to go away until God knows when. Unless the world comes to an end or people just stop using doggone Microsoft stuff and like burn everything, blow everything up, and it just cease to exist. And even then, whatever billions are in the fund will be invested, and that will go on until thy kingdom come. Does that make any sense in terms of our wild imagination of this?
Yeah.
That's how trusts work. So a trust can be liquidated immediately after the death of the settlor, or if it's a huge trust that can go on for years and decades and even centuries. All right, keep going.
After a death, the trust administrator will be responsible for obtaining copies of the trust as well as copies of the death certificate. The trust administrator will need to make a complete accounting of all of the assets that are held within the trust and will need to also make an assessment of the liabilities to that trust owes. Obtaining a tax ID number for the trust is also essential, as there are many tax forms that may need to be filed on behalf of the trust, and the Social Security number of the deceased will not be used to file those tax forms.
Why not?
He's dead.
Yes, the settlor is dead. And as we know, once you're dead, nobody is interested in anything other than your assets that you left with them. That's not true. I'm just being facetious. But for some people, it is true. Okay? Y'all don't worry about that. Daddy dead now. What's send? Let's go get what we're supposed to get. Do people do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the time. All right, keep going. Keep going.
Trust administrators have a fiduciary duty to manage trust assets throughout the trust administration process. This means that they will need to do things such as managing. I can't
What?
see it anymore. I don't
But
know.
managing,
It dropped. It keeps dropping. I don't know.
you mean on your computer?
Yeah, I can't see it anymore.
What does dropping mean?
The page keeps sliding down. I can't see where I left off.
Can you see me move?
Yeah, you're moving it. I don't know where I am now. I can't see the page. Oh. Could you put it back up?
There? What can you
Someone help
see?
me. I don't know where I left off because he moved the page.
Trust administrators have an obligation to provide notice to interested parties, which
Right
could,
there.
right there, that's where we're supposed to pick up from.
Do you see
Okay.
it?
Why didn't she pass there?
No,
It's on the next paragraph.
yeah, she did, but she didn't read that piece.
Skip it, yeah.
So you
I
can
can finish.
start there.
Go ahead, Nishka.
Okay, okay, trust administrators have an obligation to provide notice to interested parties, which could include potential heirs or beneficiaries, as well as third parties such as Medicaid, which may want to make a claim on the assets of the trust if the deceased received Medicaid coverage for nursing home care services or long-term care towards the end of his or her life.
Now, this looks like European, US stuff, right? Medicaid, home care.
Mm-hmm.
Can any connection be drawn similarly in the Bahamas in terms of these things at the moment? Like, do we have a Medicaid thing at the moment?
We have an IBA.
NIB, that's it.
Yeah,
National health.
we don't have a national medical thing other than the healthcare program that we have, but that's only our young and up and coming Medicaid. So yeah, we do have a little Medicaid thing, like with the what do we call it? The annual health thing. We can go and get free checkups and so on if you fall in certain categories. What do we call that? It's done
National
for
health
public.
insurance
Yeah,
program.
national health insurance. That's our version of the American Medicaid. Okay. So if, for example, national health insurance has a balance outstanding for something they did that they're charging you for, even though it should be free, but let's say something is outstanding for whatever reason, theoretically, national health insurance can then make a claim against the assets, get their money before the beneficiaries get it. And that's really all we're saying here. In these situations, whoever has a claim can make that claim, should make that claim before the rest of the money goes to beneficiaries. Okay, keep going.
Trust administrators also have a fiduciary duty to manage trust assets throughout the trust administration process. This means that they will need to do things such as managing investments, paying bills, and collecting on debts that are owed to the trust. They must also put the best interests of the trust and its beneficiaries first above their own interests, and they must act with reasonable competence, as negligence or self-dealing could be considered violations of the fiduciary duty and could lead to legal action against the trustee.
Without a doubt, we know that.
Trust administrators should keep a careful accounting of the actions they take as they manage the trust, such as detailing expenses that they incur and bills they pay. This may become necessary to demonstrate what has happened to estate assets. They will also need to file all appropriate forms with the IRS and state taxing authorities to ensure that taxes are paid.
Who is our version of the IRS at the moment?
Inland revenue.
Yeah, inland revenue, real property tax, VAT, or anything else you got. How's that? They are our version at the moment of the IRS. By the time you guys get older, all that stuff might be changed to the IRS in some form or another, but certainly we already have them in existence, seeking to whom they can devour. Okay, keep going.
Finally, trust administrators will have an obligation to formally facilitate the transfer of the trust assets to the appropriate designated beneficiaries in accordance with the instructions provided in the trust document. This can include doing things such as changing titles and deeds on property that was owned within the trust.
Indeed. All right. And then finally, keep going.
Trust administrator responsibilities and duties. Direct accounts with departmental policies and procedures and state laws. Engage in business, social, and community events for visibility.
Why would administrators be doing that? Like, what the heck does the social visibility have to do with it? Anyone?
Unless they're trying to drum up more business.
Yeah, why not? They're drumming up more business. they're letting the society know that they're responsible trustees. If you have any assets that you'd like to settle for your beneficiaries in the future, please come to us because we're always here, see, to serve you, smiling, having functions for you, hors d'oeuvres, attending the funerals of your family and so on. Whatever it takes to be visible. They're not there by accident, okay? They are seeking new business. Absolutely, okay? So it's like sometimes like my wife would fix her hair one way and then a little while after that she'd fix it another way. I'm like, why did you change your hairstyle? The other one was great. He said, I know, but I have to keep looking like changing so I could, yeah, look cute. But I said, you're already cute. You've been cute for like all these decades. You don't really, she says, I know, but still. I'm like, okay. So it's kind of like that. This visibility thing is all about marketing for the trustee corporations. All right, keep going.
Coordinate with business development and investment officers in new account sales. Synthesize with investment officers and work with trust operations department. Manage trust accounting system, working knowledge and technological applications. Implement client documents terms. Pack and submit trust documents as per bank and department requirements. Administer assigned trust accounts to comply with state and federal regulations. Offer superior customer service for accounts and administration.
Which accounts are they? What accounts are under administration?
Investment account?
Trust accounts.
Trust account.
Remember, all the investments and all that fall under the trust. Because after all, what are we investing? Trust assets so you can get more money into the trust so that beneficiaries can have more. That's the whole idea. Okay? Keep going.
Hold periodic meetings with clients for communication, check daily transactions, approve payments, and process discretionary paperwork. Screen visitors and telephone calls and handle meetings for trust associates. Maintain account files for filing. Attend to customer queries on buying products and services on trust service products. Sell deposit and loan products.
Thank you very much. Anybody still wants to be a trust administrator? No answer. The answer should be yes, but you must know that it comes with what? A huge responsibility. Is it insurmountable? Of course not. Trust administrators are all over the world. They have a whole bunch of people. If it's a large firm working for them, if they have a middle-sized firm, they have a whole bunch of people working for them, a lesser amount. And if it's a small firm, they have 1 or 2 people. And if it's a smaller firm, they have you. So it's not a problem. Okay, it's just designed to introduce you to the kinds of responsibility that trust administrators have, or trustees themselves, if they do not have a designated administrator. It's not a big deal once you understand what the requirements are and you're ready to go out and deal with them. All right, any questions, anyone, on anything at all? Fantastic. If you don't hear from me by Monday, between now and Monday on that examination thing that I talked about, please send me an email and say, hello, what's going on with that answer? And but hopefully I get back to you before that date. All right. Yeah. If I don't see you guys anymore before examination, good luck. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, I did give you my contact, didn't I?
Yes.
Great. Send me an email or give me a call, send me a text, whatever the case might be. Feel free to raise any questions that you may wish, whether it's in the units that I lectured or even some other unit that you might not be clear on, you cannot reach your lecturer, etc. Okay?
Okay.
Fantastic. It was great having you guys. You were fantastic. Good luck.
You were great. Thank you. You
All
were
right,
great.
take care.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
He's a good lecturer. Yeah, so I'm just trying to live. I don't know how to leave. How do you leave? He's a good lecturer.